Welcome to the Pearl L. Crawford Memorial Library Board of Trustees meeting, Tuesday, October 24th, 2021. We'll start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the start of our meeting this evening is MLA Studios presentation. So I'm going to slide over.
So,
Great.
Do you guys want to pass those that way? Pass those?
There should be a few extra.
Hopefully.
That's good. I can give one to the Crawford family.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, actually, just will you hand me one of
You need one
the
more?
extras? Yeah, I'll give it to the Crawford girls.
In the face of
The girls who are not girls. But they're still the Crawford girls.
Whenever I call my husband a boy, he's like, he's not a boy, but a man. Okay.
I don't care, I got night vision.
Oh,
Good.
perfect.
I knew you did.
Thanks for having us back. I'm Amy Wilson. And this is
I'm
my colleague,
Ariana.
Ariana. And we've taken the last month to gather your thoughts that we heard last July and put them together in a composite conceptual design for you tonight. So our agenda tonight is to review the schedule. Thank you.
Just something else.
Review the concepts. So we're going to review what we did last time, what you liked, what you didn't like, and then how we brought that all together. Review a cost estimate, which we have right here, and see what you think about that, what questions you have, and then talk about the next steps. So just to go back a little bit and review the vision statement, because I think it's always good for us to make sure we're coming back to what you decided that was really important before and make sure we're hitting those goals. So the vision statement, and it was tweaked a little bit last time, says the outdoor space will be a beautiful natural space that will provide the library flexibility for a range of opportunities, thank you, for gathering, learning, relaxation, and exploring nature to be enjoyed by families, children, and community. So we think that the final conceptual design that we're going to show you today does meet the vision statement, and if there's anything else that we're missing, this is a really great opportunity to let us know. So this is the survey that was done, I believe in June by Meridian. So it's looking up at the space. The north is pretty much up, and the parking lot's on the bottom. So the building is not shown, but we will look at the building a little bit today. This dark line is the property line. Thank you. These are the parking spaces, and this is the existing curb line that's there. And then it like slopes up pretty steeply from the curb to the outdoor space. That's okay. So, and this is the existing tree line. So we have that open space over here. This is that existing rocks boulder circle. And then the existing trees are here, and some other existing boulders are shown. So that's the space as it is now.
And we just wanted to refer you to that. I don't know why that's doing that. I'm not touching it. I'm like just staying away from
Probably
it.
my notebook. And then this is the first design that we looked at last week. We called it the Oyster. It had the oyster-shaped open lawn area with a very large pergola over the open green area here with some tiered seating. So this would be like the larger gathering space. A meandering path winds through the outer edge and then into these little nooks that have different types of I don't know why it's doing that. So there's different types of
It's got a twitch.
As long as nobody's epileptic, I
But you have your
sincere
own
apologies.
So they're different cheating. And then this one has a ramp that switches back and some steps that take you into like the main entrance space right here. So those are the main components of this plan.
And then, I guess the second plan, it's the kind of the same, it was the kind of the spaces were kind of noticed kind of the same way, keeping the tree line. So have more heavily vegetated on to the right, to plan right, and then, more open on the left. But this one kind of disjointed it. What we kind of had was two separate spaces, but they kind of serve two different purposes. But, there's different, in different ways to get this ramp situated. So
this one had the ramp that went through the middle that
Yep.
divided those two spaces.
So then we looked at both, the major steps to this one, to like what we did, what you guys didn't like, what the major likes and dislikes is like, definitely came up with the organic shapes, the natural materials and planting palette, the various types of seating, the different options, the various space flexibility, shades very important, liked the foraging paths, and then you guys disliked the site physically being split and also not in straight lines. So what we kind of came up with is kind of like a zoomed out version. We'll zoom in a little bit further, but kind of looking at the overall thing because we really wanted to show the connection is that.
Maybe I'll point.
Oh no, that little thing came off. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So we kind of came. Yeah. So we came up with I kind of stuck with this theme of the loom, of like this idea of what we kind of came up with was like weaving together this idea of community congregation. We were talking about on the left, where there's a lot of little bit larger events, bigger things, more people events, to more of like a little bit more adventurous, a little bit more solitude to the right side, just based on the existing site conditions. So kind of wanted to look at the entry sequence, sort of like how you're going to get in there. So this is the best way to.
So we didn't really have a chance to talk about this last time, so this is a little bit new part.
Yeah, so because we had kind of talked about connections, and when you guys came back, we got the feedback about the parking spots, and you guys said, hey, if it really helps the park, we could take more than one parking spot. So what we did was to try to create this really nice entry, where there's a new island. Right now, there's just parking striping to the right, right there.
So this is the building. This is the part of the building where there's like a children's library.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep. And the existing door that comes out from that room is here.
And
the
that's-
main entrance is like here. Am I right?
Yep.
Yes.
Gotcha,
Yep.
gotcha, okay.
So sorry. It's the same orientation. We just kind of like shrunk down near the building. So if that helps. So that sidewalk kind of already exists. So what we did is that parking striping. That's where Amy was, just that island right here. That right now is just striping, and actually, for better safety purposes, we actually think that there should be some sort of curb because that's not an actual turn deterrent. So what we thought that is, if you added that could be your connection, utilizing existing infrastructure, and we're only removing 3 parking spots.
So this is not currently a parking spot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's not currently a parking spot. So it's just 2 parking spots.
Yeah.
So this is an existing
Yep,
sidewalk.
exactly. Yep.
And then we continue it and have a crosswalk to
Yep.
meet a new sidewalk.
Yep, and considering the ADA parking spots are also right there at the front of the library, just right actually next to that sidewalk. I don't think they're they're actually just right south, right at the front of the door.
Yeah.
So yeah, you would just take that, and that's why we put the ramp more that way. And the goal of kind of having these kind of separate entries that are kind of occurring as you're seeing is that we kind of wanted to really try to take away this idea of seeing the ramp and this ramp being a thing. So what we did was kind of try to create, so this ramp is actually not technically a ramp anymore that leads into the park, where like number 3 is up there. What it is, it's actually less than 5%. So what that allows you to do is it's not necessarily considered a ramp technically. So
You don't have to have
The
handrails.
slope
Yes.
is so gentle.
Yeah.
So it's pretty gentle. It still is like a sloped walkway.
Yep.
It is for sure accessible, but you don't have to have handrails. You can have handrails.
Yep. So that eliminates all that extra looking all the extra guardrails or walls or things that you would have to have in there. So then we kind of try to make that experience just a straight experience that way, which then also helps
So
the
that's
parking
this
lot.
path.
Yep. So, so we thought that, so we had this idea, so Joanne, actually, we were thinking about this, so moving along to the stairs, you can see there's 2 different entries. So you have the ramp, and then we have the stairs, because we thought that there could be 2 different ways, and we thought that it could actually be kind of fun to do this, which you can kind of see the images on the bottom left, is that they don't necessarily have to be stone, but we thought that'd be kind of like these curved steps, and that's kind of what you're seeing with these curved lines. Is that it kind of makes this like straight, awesome, like kind of this awesome entryway that then also is another route to get on there. It's a different experience, and it also helps then by adding all that planting kind of in that strip, kind of where we had it before. It's really going to help with the retaining grade, which is kind of an issue right now. So that's why we thought this would also allow for really awesome type kind of additional tree planting to really kind of like buffer up that entry. But now where it feels like it's a jungle, it's kind of more of like there's some nature and you're gonna have a fun experience that kind of guides you up there. And then so we thought, so for number 2 is along this nice walk, along the ramp, quote unquote ramp, the long pathway up there. We thought that, because it does have to retain a little bit of soil up there to try to help with grade. So when we're getting up there, we thought it would be really cool to kind of make it some sort of feature wall. Especially you can kind of see it lingering a little bit past the stairs, the stairs, the crosswalk, that main entry walk. So where it's kind of, it's like kind of stopping you. You see this thing and it's like, oh, this is, and then it kind of guides you to the left and it guides you to go up because you don't see a sidewalk that way. So it kind of is this nice extension. And again, it'll help with retaining or helping with the slope and the grade of over what's going on over there.
Excuse me, so
Yeah.
the number 1 wall you're talking about is going to be like where 2 and 3 are up above?
I'm sorry, we're the stairs, so those curved stairs?
Yes.
The very entry, yeah, so it's like we thought it would be kind of cool to do a concrete, some sort of, we think because it's cost less than an actual real stone wall. But if you did something concrete with maybe like a stone veneer, that's more, it could be a local stone type of veneer, but it's got the little bit of the curve. It plays with the curves on
So she's talking where the number 1 is?
Yes, I
Right
apologize,
here.
yeah.
The 2 sides.
I'm
The
saying,
curves.
Yep,
I'm bad with numbers. This is just a lot brighter on the screen. I'm like trying to look back and forth. It's a little bit brighter on here. And look, you have a marker. You can point at things. We thought that, so that's why we were kind of trying to create this fun curvy experience, and because of the walls and what we could do is that instead of just these straight lines, which we thought was a dislike, it could always end up being a straight line. However, we thought we'd add a little bit of drama and kind of fun to what is going to happen, to what's going to be up there. So, for example, for that entry wall, for example, we thought it could be kind of fun to play with. I threw these 2 ideas on there, but it would be some sort of feature wall. And that's why kind of the idea of maybe like a board form concrete or something with a lot of texture. Maybe it'd be really cool to even put some library stamps in there or donor names you can always put, or.
So you could pour like a regular concrete wall and then have different things stamped into it.
Yeah.
It could look more like wood or
So it's
whatever
very
you
text,
want now.
so it has
You
a
can
lot of
have,
really
like,
nice
stone
texture. Yeah. Or there's also this other option too, which I thought, if we're all going the natural earth way, the natural way is called rammed earth walls, which it kind of takes different particles. That's why it kind of turns there's these different layers, substrate layers, and they use different types of earth to kind of create these different layers, and they literally ram it into different layers. So, or it doesn't even have to be either of those. It's just, they're just throwing out some ideas of what we can kind of play with to kind of make this fun experience. And this wall isn't going to be very tall. It just kind of adds a little bit of something to it. Maybe, I think we ended up with the grading it at the bottom. It's maybe 4 feet, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, 4 feet, and then we kind of have it almost kind of dying into the, oh wow, thank you so much. That's awesome.
Distraction.
Oh, wow.
All the cats.
Oh, God, I know. I'm not telling my cat about this.
All of my dogs.
So it would kind of start out probably maybe about 4 feet down here, but then it would almost kind of disappear to maybe 6 inches at the top here. So that's why something that's kind of linear and horizontal could be kind of fun, or you could also play with the other option, going vertical. There's lots of cool things too that you can do with out there. And then Amy maybe can talk about the painted crosswalks, but your thought that it could be really fun to maybe like highlight that experience by doing something in the road.
Yeah, so there are a ton of different ways you can paint a crosswalk, and it's not a very expensive way to add something like fun and beautiful. So this is just white on asphalt, which you could easily do with some kind of stencil. So right here could be a really fun feature for the painted crosswalk, and in the future, if you wanted to have some other way of getting across from this door, you could have a future crosswalk and crossing extension of the sidewalk over there.
We didn't think that was as necessary at the moment. We just wanted to make sure we had the accessible route, but if we just didn't want to, because it wasn't necessarily part of our scope, but we just thought that could be a potential option just with the way the things are located at the moment.
So your stairs on the left at number 1 would not immediately have this crosswalk to it?
Right, unless you want it.
Well, I'm just thinking out loud. We have no sidewalk over there, so we would have plantings with just stairs there leading into a parking spot.
So you would if you were going to go to this space, you would, and you came up this door, let's say, or you parked, you would walk this way and walk up the sloped walkway, or you could walk this way, walk on the sidewalk, and walk here, or walk just across.
So there will be
parking
sidewalk along the parking lot on that side.
Will there?
It's a really
white.
Yeah, it's where it's
Yes.
white. That's
there's
sidewalk right
there's
there.
a little one. We didn't make it. I think I did. It's minimum ADA is I think 3.5 or 3.5 feet. I did 4, and it was just kind of more for a step landing, and also, or unless you wanted, we kind of talked about because we need something safe for cars to. So unless you wanted roll stop bars and kind of put them in there, you're already going to kind of have to do something to kind of prevent it so it doesn't run into shrubs or anything. So I just figured kind of maybe a sidewalk.
Put a sidewalk there so like people getting out of their cars.
Right.
Yeah, and that too.
So you can also, so this is the sidewalk, but you could potentially extend it here if you wanted.
I would think if you're not going to do the left, I would think you'd want to extend it so people crossing over want to go down to the stairs. It's off from the parking lot onto a sidewalk, and it just doesn't look cohesive with that sidewalk ending right there.
Absolutely. We just, we could definitely extend it. We actually had it extended in one of the original things. We were just thinking that the only reason that anybody that's like parked over here, if they needed to go, it's a great point now that you look back at it, that we had it before. I think I just didn't like it because it was taking away a lot of landscaping.
Do you
But
need the trees?
Huh?
Those 2 trees you have there?
We don't need them.
Okay. So maybe they're holding some slope or.
yeah, well, that's why it's gonna stabilize some things. That's why they're small little.
It'll be a wall if it's not.
It'll be a wall, so
Yes.
it should be okay, I would think.
And what's the distance from the end of the sidewalk to where that sidewalk starts over there? What's that space? Like, I'm thinking about cars going both ways, passing maybe at the same
That
time.
Here?
must be about
Yeah.
10 feet.
Oh no, that's 22. That's your standard drive aisle. So so you have 20. That's
10 feet
so that'd be
each way,
26.
yeah.
Your guys' is pretty big too. So I think it's 26 feet actually. So you got a 26
We have
feet
a
wide.
lot.
Well, it looks
space
like
over
you're
there.
taking, like you've come out with that sidewalk, so that's taking a space, a car space?
Yeah,
And then
but
that
there's,
one over here
but there's
as well.
still a standard drive, and then some between the 2 sides. of
Yeah,
the
so I'm gonna,
spaces.
I wonder if this brightness can go down. Sorry, there's parking lot lines that are just, I guess, not showing up on here, but, so.
I can see that.
Oh, we can
Yeah.
see them on our.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so essentially they're just, the drive aisle, that's from the survey, so we just essentially took those 2 parking, just those 2 parking spots.
So it's not any narrower than it is currently.
No, it's
More than
actually a
it
good,
is with a car.
Well, it looks like you're coming out of we already have that coming out, there's already, where number 2 is, come down from 2 to 4, we already have that?
No, I'm proposing an island.
That's just a standard, that's
But
just
that's
a
a-
standard parking space size. So, I
And-
mean, we have the parking
No,
spaces.
she's
there.
saying that this isn't
Exactly.
there,
Yeah.
there's nothing
This
blocking
is,
the way.
yeah,
right
around.
now, this is like a striped area that you're not supposed to park in.
I'm
Yeah.
talking
Yeah,
about top.
she's talking about the top
Yeah.
one.
That's it. Park.
So you're saying you want something that's on the
No,
side
no, I'm
of the.
just asking about it.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not-
Oh.
That's not there, that's new.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So that's sorry. So this parking spot, we're essentially, I misunderstood the question. This parking spot and this parking spot. So we're proposing taking 2 parking spots out of this,
Yep.
out of what we were making to make it sidewalk. It's actually, I did a lot of work with DOT work. So this is actually it's actual good traffic safety practices. Parking lots are actually, minimum standards usually it's every 10 parking spots you're supposed to have an island. You guys don't have any
don't
islands,
have
but
islands.
cool. Just it's, but I mean maybe it's just.
So are we raising a bed 6-8 inches and putting?
So it's just so like when you go to a grocery store.
They took that out of this parking lot right behind me, because this parking lot had them, and they hated it for plowing.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh,
they
yeah.
took them out, so we better think. We may have the town saying, why are you putting in what we just took out at the town hall?
And then you say, because we're redoing the entire town for ADA.
Yeah.
Remember that giant grant y'all just got?
Yeah. Yeah, and if granite curbs, I mean,
I think it would give us a
that's what
good-
happens. I mean, you're a plow. I've plowed before. You gotta. I know they might hate it. I don't know. It's we could. I mean, I think removing them
Do they
would
plow the
be
whole lot? Yeah.
pretty
Do they have
bad.
to?
Yeah,
Yes.
they plow the whole thing.
Well, do we need that one over by the one?
Well, the one over by number 1, because that's where the main entrance to.
What
the-
is going to be the main entrance with some sort of, because we had talked to
Yeah, well, that's
an
where
entrance.
number 1 is, where
I
those
think number
stairs
1,
are,
the
and
curved
the
stairs,
curve,
Yeah.
that's the main
yeah.
entrance.
Yeah.
But
So-
you'll see, when we zoom out a little more, you'll see that both the slope walkway and the steps lead you to the main entrance, so they both lead you to this one spot.
Yeah.
Oh, so any,
Yep. So
at one point you talk pergola, whatever, would
Here.
be up,
Exactly.
up there.
here you go.
Gotcha.
Here, so we'll just zoom
Gotcha.
back out. Sorry, I
Gotcha.
probably went through this slide too fast. So this is just kind of like the whole thing. And so we just meant to say like we were gonna go over this entry thing. But so this idea it's kind of backing. Why am I pointing at the computer? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm pointing at the computer. Okay, so you're gonna come out here, and that's why we were talking about these 2 main entries. So this whole idea of where they kind of meet up. And we
Gotcha.
were trying to kind of create this experience because of the grade, and that's why, apologies, the slope. That's why we kind of really wanted to try make that low slope, so that we wouldn't have to have all those handrails and extra walls and all those things. So it does meet up here. We can maybe talk to or figure out a way to maybe it's not a curb for this one. Maybe they could do, maybe it's kind of out here you guys have in your parking lot where they flattened it.
Right.
Maybe this one might have a flattened entrance, but I highly suggest this one should at least have a curb. This is just standard, and I think you still have 15 parking spots still here, but
Yeah, we have more parking spaces than we're required to. And that's-
yeah, so it's just for safety precautions, but either way, we can kind of look into other options, maybe see what the town likes. But so that was kind of the entry sequences. That then you'd also have this kind of nice LA of trees that are kind of thinking some mixed species, like when you're kind of going up the wall. And then over here, so that's why I'll zoom into this one because we're gonna get to here. So kind of this entry. So here are those stairs, and this is we kind of talked about like this is kind of the big community areas. We kind of really went with these organic shapes. And so that's those circle stairs. And right here, we were thinking where number 2 is where the sculpture could be, where you guys are talking about the
Nice.
sculpture. We also were thinking too, I don't know if you guys thought about this, but how books will actually be in the garden, or so like we were thinking, for example, that could also be a good location for like a little free library. Maybe, so it's like if, just.
And then our own library books will end up in a little free library.
Maybe.
and we'll never get them
Maybe
back.
not. We were just trying to think of a fun way to kind of incorporate
I
reading
can see
outside.
people just being like, oh, I can just put this here, and we'll be like, where's that book?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not that. So that could also be the sculpture. Oh, sorry, I should go in order. Sorry, number one, the tree. So we thought that like coming up at the end of this walkway, you'd have this really awesome, we thought that if there was a donor tree or there's a special thing, it's in this planter that could also kind of be like something that can maybe have annuals in it. Not that if you want to, but we're trying to mix up again with the whole gardening thing, because we know that we were thinking that too many plant beds might be too much program, so maybe give different options for different types of gardening. So, this bed we were thinking could be kind of like a very like community-oriented plant bed that could be that, and it have a special tree.
Plug some mums in there.
Yeah, or just maybe ornamental cabbage, right?
Sure, and then we can make soup. It'll be a library program.
There you go.
And is the white around one and a few other places, is that some sort of curbing?
Yeah.
of some
Yeah, it's
sort?
a little bit of a wall.
Yep.
Just for that, it's right down here. So we're
Right.
trying to we're retaining this a little bit, and we thought we'd kind of play again with getting a little bit of elevation, because we're trying to also preserve as many trees as possible. So it kind of also helps with grade when we're able to retain it. So when we say that, it's not necessarily like these big, huge, we're thinking maybe like 6 inches to like maybe a foot in some areas.
Could we go back just one slide?
Absolutely.
One thing? So there are a lot of existing trees that are currently providing a good amount of shade to a bunch of the space, not the whole space, but this plan would mean that a lot of those that are along the parking lot would need to be removed. So we haven't actually talked about that before, but there's a river birch over here, and then there are the rest of them along the parking lot that are kind of reaching over into that open space are Norway maple trees.
Well, I didn't do that.
So we're proposing mostly new trees and leaving one of the big clusters. I think
It's this one, right here.
There's one big cluster of Norway maple trees that are currently providing shade that would stay, and then the rest of the trees along the parking lot would be new trees. So in the beginning, it might look a little bare, and the reason that those trees would need to be removed is because in order to regrade and put an accessible pathway up,
It's gonna
you
be
have
really hard to do
remove-
with trees in
Yeah.
the way.
We'll have to remove those.
Sure.
The
Understandable.
good part is that Norway maples are invasive
Yeah.
species, and basically they're all like little clones of each other in that whole space, and they keep spreading and keep spreading. They're very aggressive trees, so they're not necessarily a bad tree to remove. And river birch is a native tree that we are proposing to remove, and they are also fast-growing trees, so if you really love them, we could plant another one.
Or we could relocate them as well,
Maybe, yeah.
potentially.
Mhm.
I think they were probably put in there to help with the retaining of the slope here, but, because they have really fast roots that are more topsoil heavy, so kind of like willows.
Were those trees planted?
Some were, yes.
Because they look kind of new, but they also don't look, it's kind of hard to tell how scrag, I don't know how well they're doing right now.
We went through the site and looked at every single tree that's 4 inches like thick or bigger, and made notes about all of them and what species they are and their health, and whether we thought we should try to keep them or get rid of them, or either way is fine. So we have notes on all of the trees, and pretty much if there's a tree there that looks pretty good, then we want to keep it. And if it's not in good condition, if it's really in poor health, we definitely want to remove it. And then there's some that are on the fence, and if they're kind of in the way of something that we think is beneficial, then we think we should remove it and replant something that is native and will be stronger and better for the site.
Yes.
That'll be a change.
So that's why, so on the left, that's why from last time we kind of like left this, but we actually moved in a little bit more because we tried to keep all these trees that are in here, and which we ended up able to do, that were on that are 4-inch caliper or bigger.
Mhm.
So but kind of going from we were talking about signature tree, just a nice bench at the welcome, kind of looking at the sculpture, just kind of this nice gentle easing with these curved walls instead of the straight lines. And then kind of moving over to the left is kind of more activity oriented and or group oriented. So picnic table, we did kind of more, we thought like a double-sided planter would be easy, and then you also, if you had a little irrigation thing, you wouldn't have to have multiple things if you had multiple beds. So one big bed that also you can kind of teach from as well, so someone could be on the inside and other people could be on the outside while you're trying to show and demonstrate. And then, so that's kind of what's showing over here. And then kind of over here is kind of inspired by this really idea of like kind of flexible seating, but because we did need some retention, we thought, so if you kind of look at picture 6, but kind of imagine that a little bit bigger and not with a wood deck underneath it. But it's this idea of having, with this kind of this really cool curved wall, but kind of with like a seat bench around it. But then it allows you, like we put some, if you wanted to, you wouldn't have to, but for example, like you can have multiple different parties or different things happening here. Because I kind of for idea of like some cafe tables and chairs. So you kind of see those there, but those are always, you can always move those. Like if you needed multiple people to sit there, kind of makes it really flexible. Or kind of like a big party could also organize there because there's the center. We also thought that we could be kind of cool too if maybe a fire pit could go there, a small fire pit, but I didn't want to put any, I saw it in the center.
Do you remember how I said I was worried about small children being
I
run
know,
over?
I'm joking. We just thought it could be, just thinking.
Let's not have small children set on fire. No small children being set on fire.
What's your diameter of 6? About? What do you guesstimate?
So that would be about, hold on, so if that's, I'd say it's probably about 14 to 16 feet.
Yeah, if the parking spaces are to scale, then yeah, that's like 15 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it could either, that's why we do have more that's why the more intimate spaces are kind of a little bit more to the left. We thought that, again, this one could kind of be more flexible. If you're not necessarily teaching a class, but like, someone can kind of stand in the middle and, it kind of gives you kind of all feel like you could be together. Either way. So that's kind of where that came from, is that idea. And then kind of like drifting up, we'll kind of go through this way. So kind of like we kind of did the wavy steps from last time, and they aren't going to be not this tall. The platforms don't go that tall. We're thinking 6-inch, maybe like 6 inches up to kind of give that little stadium feel, but also it's a different type of flex seating, so you can kind of sit on the boulders. You can kind of sit there and watch something. And then above that, you'll see this kind of shade canopy, which kind of looks like a stingray on here. We thought that we could kind of do this dual purpose. We researched. We knew that we liked the pergola over grass. So kind of had to revamp our idea because we looked into grass underneath it. It's just not going to work. But we tried this. The reason for all this orientation is away from that southern, southwest-ish sun, which is going to come straight from here. That's why the garden bed is kind of here, so you'll get some nice shade here, nice sun here. But then kind of have this shade, and we were thinking that this side, so you can kind of see these little lines. Well, I wish it was kind of showed up here, but this little triangle can kind of be angled down, and then this one can kind of be a little angled up. Yeah. So then what it actually really does is give you this nice shade kind of area over here without trying to take up too much area. And we thought that it could be made of different types of materials. There's almost different ways you can really think of it. We thought it'd be kind of fun if it still provided shade, but it looked really light, I guess, like a very light touch. Or you can kind of almost go the other route, which you're kind of showing here, which is also very cool and sculptural at the same time, because they did, these are actually, I think they used I-beams is what we figured out. They actually use these cool not rusty, but cool treated I-beams and some wood. You can use all different types of materials. It actually kind of gives a different feel of it. So a little bit either heavier or kind of lighter to kind of see how you kind of want to.
With something covering it all of the time so that you don't have to go out and put a shade over it in the summer and take it off when the hurricane comes.
So we thought that would be kind of, really kind of almost kill two birds with one stone in that way, in that like we're still kind of really shading this area, the lawn, but by still having it have access to all the nature, not having things above it. But then, so kind of again trying to like really keep these trees. So we kind of like played around with trying to really figure out how to make these nice, still fun but still navigable pathways. But we thought that we kind of moved the loungers in this back left corner. We thought would be really nice because you have all this really cool vegetation, which is another really great opportunity to kind of do. We were thinking a pollinator garden in here. And then you can it could have a meandering, little fun stone path, secret little pathway kind of coming from the circle up there. And then those same loungers that everybody seemed to really like, they can kind of over here in their own little, kind of like a hidden corner type thing. But so you're getting some personal space, but you're still kind of near the action. So then kind of like moving around the circle, we also kind of had a little spot for rocking chairs. Doesn't have to be one. This is that one's kind of more of like if you want that area in there, not just because another seating option on this side. So and then when you get to the end, we kind of thought we'd have a fun a circle deck, kind of a stage that was in the shape of a circle. We thought that it kind of adds a little bit more again to those organic lines that everybody's kind of been gravitating towards. And then I'll shift over to the next side. So then sorry.
What is the sixth circle for?
That's the
Oh, wow. Whoa, why did that
So
do
that's
that?
where
Okay.
Lita would sit to do story time.
Yeah, so actually I was thinking, like, we were thinking
Or
of
the
it the
magician.
same.
Yeah, or
But-
the magician or whatever.
Well,
yeah.
the magician, yeah, exactly. Like, Lita could sit, this would actually might be a nice place for Lita to sit, or anyone else leading a group, and then, whatever books or materials could be on the stage, but it is really flexible for lots of different types of groups.
We also do provide another story time circle in the next part.
And before you leave, and three, if 6 were semi-stage, 3 could be your seating. It's going to be tiered facing 6.
Yeah. So it's kind of like if people bring out their blankets or anything, they're kind of in front. But if you kind of wanted to get up a little bit, and so utilizing some of these boulders that were in here, you can kind of also kind of build up a little bit to kind of get that, get those stairs up a little bit. Kind of also that fun play with the natural and the wood, kind of making the fun curvy lines.
But you really have, like, the whole area is seating.
I was going to say, you have a whole lawn in front of you.
Exactly.
And that too. So
So that's for the parents who don't want to sit on the grass.
And then the grandparents are up at number 5. I'm sitting in
Right.
the rocking chair going,
Yeah.
go play.
yeah.
You can see everything.
Yeah,
Exactly. I can see it.
that was the one thing that I thought was we can't just like leave this space here. I was like, there's a perfect like visual opportunity, right? Like where it's like, it's awesome, especially with this boulder kind of here, kind of limited us kind of what was, because we were really trying to keep, we kept all the really big boulders. We did switch the circle because we thought that it wasn't as important to be right there. But then, so I'll move, whoa, this guy like really is sensitive. So moving on to, if you move over to, so if you're going to plan right, so kind of coming over, there was that curved thing, the rocking chairs are right over here. That big boulder was right over here. The curved stairs, so you can kind of see this curved wall kind of come up here. So if you're going this way, everybody really liked the swings. So, sorry, I stopped at the swing. So we kind of made it a double thing, actually. So you can have 3 people or 3 parties, 3 different things happening. And then that always makes a different type of idea or different conversations happen with just 2 people. So we thought that that'd be, because they were so liked, you can maybe have 2 and they kind of fit. We feel like in this natural theme that's kind of going over here, we're really trying to kind of keep the same forested line, because this is kind of what the site was dictating to us, is that this is kind of where our tree line is. And so starting with number 1, mentioning that reading nook circle for story time, we thought that would be really fun too, is that we actually kind of recreated that circle. So that's kind of that circle. We thought that Unfortunately, it was just like not in the best place, but we thought it was still a really cool idea, and it kind of like ties back to the original context of what's happening on the site. And we also thought it would be kind of fun. I don't know if you'd like this, but we thought, because it's mostly for kids, these like stump seats, that's kind of what those little, so she can have a little circle there. And you can also sit on the rocks behind it. That was the idea too, is so they get a little bit higher, you know, you can kind of have 2 rows almost. So then we also, this is all Amy's doing in a good way, is that we actually also kind of played away with these path widths for a couple of them. We thought that it'd be kind of fun. They're still all ADA. We just kind of narrowed the standard path width. Everybody, like sidewalks, is 5 feet, just for general purposes. Minimum ADA is, sorry, it's not 3.5, it's 3 feet. So 36 inches, not 3.6. So we thought we'd kind of play with, so we just wanted to, so the idea is this outer circle that was kind of going around the whole thing is the 5 foot. And then kind of some of these like little smaller paths, they're a little bit narrower. So it kind of gives you a little bit, you can still walk with another person next to you, but you kind of get a little bit more comfortable, you know, that type of feeling.
And the surface of all the pathways and like under the seating areas is all the same, I believe, that we are showing it.
Yeah, except, so under this, I did under the swings, we'll get to that slide unless that got taken out. I did, so everything under, so we kind of still stuck with the same materials we were talking about, that decomposed granite. But, so that's why a different color I'm just showing here is, I thought it'd be nice because we're trying to blend into the forest. It'd be the like kind of wood chips, just in these two little, like in these little spots here, only because it kind of like, so it kind of keeps the path, but also kind of makes it kind of blend in there. So these lines that are kind of have the swings in there aren't really lines. It kind of makes it fuzzy in between. So it kind of gives it that nice feeling of kind of still being in there in the forest, but not actually being in the forest. That was the only change. If people aren't into wood chips, that's totally fine too. It was just a thought. But so then kind of going around here, we kind of kept with that same circle that exists. So when you kind of walk around here, you have this circle here, this kind of circle, yeah, so this circle exists. We kind of put I kind of threw a couple more boulders in there to define it a little bit more. And we kind of did that rocking chair circle, which we thought was kind of fun. And so you might notice in this, kind of also over in this area, is that we kind of have been having some boulders kind of in the middle of pathways. We thought that it actually kind of adds a little bit to it. So some of these are really big, like this guy is a massive guy. We thought that it would be kind of fun if we can kind of make it so, you know, it's all ADA, obviously it'll all be ADA, but it might not necessarily be a consistent path width. We thought that would be kind of utilizing that existing, the existing, what the site's kind of telling us is that it's there, and then it also kind of stops you, right? It kind of like makes you be like, oh, there's a way to go this way, but there's also kind of, a little bit kind of interesting ways here. Same with kind of, we thought this, a central landmark. Also, kids like standing on rocks, and people really like seeing different perspectives. We thought that if we already have the materials on site, why not try to take advantage of something really cool and try to make it really pretty. So I think, so then we also kind of kept this idea too of keeping this kind of like, we really wanted to not touch this forest floor as much as possible. We just mostly trying to install shrubs that would have something to do with foraging. So if it had to do with crafts or maybe some sort of berries, we're calling it like the Foraging Forest. Who brought that? Was it you that brought that up that meeting, or?
Probably. Sounds
Maybe
like
not.
something I would do.
Yeah, so we kind of been sticking with that idea. We thought that was a really cool way to approach this, is because this is actually where a lot of the reason this is kind of in this fun kind of shape, because this is where these are a lot of the existing trees are in this plant bed. So we were trying to kind of, that's why this one, we were kind of trying to, not necessarily isolate it, but kind of really almost kind of trying to create a protection around them, so that even through construction and things like that, it would also help protect the trees. But then also you could, by then just kind of introducing some semi-shade, forest ground loving things that might have some fun to do with crafts or might have again, like a berry or two or something native that, so that kids could learn. So we're thinking maybe it might be fun to have some little, this is where you can put little signs maybe in there, so when you get to a plant, along these little stepping stone paths, you can kind of learn what you're picking. Or Amy, you ready for me to?
I think the last thing though
Oh.
is the story walk panels. So
They're throughout the whole thing.
right. So the larger, wider 5-foot path that circulates the outside, that's where all of the story walk panels will
Yes.
go. And we need to double check with Lita to make sure we have enough. I can't remember if it's like 22 or 24, but
Yeah, that's a her question.
Yeah.
How many?
to like a
20
lot.
something, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot.
We'll have to, and we might have to figure out
And
maybe.
it's fairly mandated how you, like, there's a whole story walk program
Yeah.
to be part of, so, you have to make sure you have enough and
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to get with
So
her
would
on
this
that
be
number.
something we'd subscribe to, that she would
No,
receive
you-
monthly, or?
No,
Oh.
you do your own, so to be a story walk, you have to meet certain, like, the panels have to be a certain size, and they have to be publicly accessible, and I don't know what all the things are, but, you choose what books you're putting in there, or what stories. There's different authors and different publishers that have made their titles available for a story walk use. But we would, basically what you do is you disassemble a picture book and laminate it, and so you need however many copies of the picture book as there are pages. You take it apart and put it in there.
That was a requested program.
Yes,
that they-
but we are already talking to Town Hall about doing one at the playground up here too.
Oh, okay.
If it ever reopens.
Yeah, well,
Oh.
minor detail, but
Or
we're
that
working
too.
on that too.
It's not that bad. I have a friend that set one up in her backyard. So she just has a short trail through her woods. And they have, these little, it's just like a placard or, like.
As you say, you're taking a
chalk
picture
up.
book apart and.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we,
and she
we
just
did
buys
one
them. They're
in,
like
we did them in
$5 or $10
Willimantic
online. You
for
print
one
them
of
out
the
and.
parks.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
So I think it could be as simple as just like printing it out and like laminating it or something yourself, or as like elaborate as having something like this
that.
structure. that's
Well,
built.
these actually look bigger than what they are, but they could be something that's straight or something like we were just at the Rocky Woods. They have theirs are like very rustic trail looking, where it's like the wood frame and
Right.
it's, they're
But
little.
easy enough for someone to change a book. or
Yeah.
something or something.
Yeah, so they can look anything from like almost like a mini bulletin board to like something even more simple to, yeah.
Yeah, they have them at the Putnam River Walk.
Oh,
which is
yes.
pretty close. If you want to go see what it looks like.
down by the water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, they're done all different ways. Like I said, we did them in Willimantic in one of the local parks, that we knew that a lot of folks on the, let's say, who were not so well off, congregated in this one park, and so we did them as a kind of free activity. And those were very simple, but then we also had another one in one of the other parks that was more like this, that had a frame that, so there's some flexibility for how you do it. But the more solid the structures are, the less likely that pages wander off.
Yeah.
Or that too, yeah.
Somebody's
we
like,
could-
I like this book on a stick, I'm going to take it with me. I
Right.
don't know.
Yeah, we can look into, I was just looking more, I bet you there is. I didn't realize that I'm just learning what these story walks are. They're like such a thing.
There is in
Right.
fact the National Bookmobile and Story Walk Week.
Wow, okay,
Is
see.
in October, so I'm just putting this out there.
So someone's probably like, I was having to look up like, bulletin, like community bulletin thingies or like placards and stuff. I didn't know. I should have probably just looked up story walk. Man, that would have made my life so much easier.
There's a whole thing for Story Walk. It's become a big deal, which is cool. It's a neat idea.
And they're probably not that expensive, like the placards, because like my
Yeah.
friend, like I said, designed
Oh,
one in her
I think so,
backyard for
yeah.
her family, and like she has really nice looking ones.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not like a book on a
No,
stick.
it's not-
Like
it's
legit,
not a
like a
huge
wooden, and then
expense.
you like drill in like something plastic on top, so it's out there in the rain, it doesn't get wet. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, most of the expense
she
is
can do it,
actually
we can.
buying, 10 copies or however many of whatever the book is
Yeah.
to cut apart, but.
So, so this just is this like a very conceptual idea of like what materials we were thinking of. We also just kind of wanted to, because we were talking about, so this is that decomposed granite we were talking about. And then this is, I was kind of bringing in kind of like the wood chip idea of underneath here. That's why I just kind of wanted to show that. That's not cool. Totally understand. Then we kind of wanted to show, you know, the ramp will be concrete along with the sidewalk and everything to get you to the park. And then we were thinking, so this fence. So we know that we kind of know what's going on with this fence over here. Kind of know what's going on over here. So we were thinking about specifically about these types of fences. So what we were thinking of is what about kind of more of like a wire mesh? And they're very easily framed. They're not very invasive. There's also very many different types of looks you can do to them. So for example, like this one is kind of a little bit more rustic. You know, they're using like the wood frame. You can have, you know, fittings that are, you know, the black to kind of give it some little character. Can go all the way to something like this where it's kind of where you can't really see it almost, where it kind of like blends in almost. You just kind of see the posts are a little bit thinner. There's not a bottom rail. And we were thinking, at least for this one runs just across the bottom along the retaining wall. That so it also, did we decide how tall? Because that wouldn't have to be that.
I think we said 4
4?
feet.
Yeah. So and that's the other purpose of that. Let me go back to the full thing really quick. Sorry. That was the whole purpose of this, is that this is highly vegetated too, both of these sides. So the fence would run here, and then the gate would be right there, and then it just kind of and then it'll run straight that way. So,
And then they're probably the same fence, but doesn't have to be, would be on the north side.
yeah. So and so that's why the idea was to like, that's why it's very vegetated. So it kind of almost can kind of hide it, kind of not hide it, depending on how you want that look and feel to be. But
Do across the front again.
yeah.
From that corner, where is it going?
So the fence runs along this back wall right here.
Up, okay.
So
On the
along
inside
this-
of this
So, and then see
walkway.
right where that line is,
Yep.
right there, that's kind of where the gate would be. It'd be at the top
Yeah.
of the stairs. And then it would come back down along this
Gotcha,
little wall
okay,
and then
that's
just
what I
run
thought.
across.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I'll go back to there, sorry. Oh, Amy, did I go too far? Are you ready for your section?
ready.
Okay, she's ready for her sections. She
So
did a very good section.
It probably looks it's a little bit easier to read on the paper. Now that I see it on here. So sometimes it's a little hard to understand what's going on when you look at the plan view of a design. So we did a cut through to see what this might look like. If you did a slice cutting all up the way across right through the middle. So starting at basically the neighbor's property where you have the arborvitae trees. Thank
And
you,
the
Ariana.
slope, yeah, that slope goes up there.
So the slope goes up, so the property line is pretty much right between those arborvitae trees.
Mhm.
Then there's some oak trees. And cutting across, we have a parent with a stroller on the accessible pathway. And then you can see a sloped pergola that goes over the pathway and over the tiered seating. So there's a child sitting on the wood tiered seating. And then you see the lawn area. There's a few kids playing on the lawn. There's no programming happening right now. And then when you get to the middle, there's another pathway. So that pathway, right now we're right here. And then this is a plant bed with some stepping stones that you could walk across. And then here we have the Stump Circle, the storytelling circle, which could be used for storytelling or other types of knitting groups, whatever you want.
I mean, that'd be kind of fun.
I can
To
see
knit right
on
there.
yours. Hey guys, you're gonna sit on stumps.
Oh, they would love it.
I think they like
Maybe
the
not the
rocking
stuff.
chairs more.
Or that too.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Then we have another pathway that leads you through to, this is like that plant bed with the foraging paths that Ariana was talking about. And it slopes a little bit and it comes to the swing area. So here's a swing and another path with a parent and a child. And then you end up with a little plant bed at the end. And then this is your 6-foot-high wood fence that runs along here. So I think that is helpful to understand a little bit of what's going on if you're looking if you're standing and you could see everything. So now is a good time for questions
Oh.
and comments. And then we do have a cost estimate. So we've done a cost of everything.
I wanna know.
Well,
We need light for that one.
yeah, I was about to say, do we want to, were we gonna chat about that one too?
Yes, we're definitely gonna chat about that.
Oh,
But maybe
okay.
we should see if there's any comments and questions, things you like, didn't like, wonder about for the plan.
I like the sort of, it's a whole, but it's also, you can use different sections. for
You
different
listened
things.
well last
Yes, we
month.
did.
You really
Okay.
A
did.
for
Okay.
good listening
Okay.
You
skills.
did.
Whew.
We watched the video.
Yeah, I think
I have a
overall, it's
question.
really nice.
The raised area that could be like a little stage
Yes.
type of thing, how wide is that? What's the diameter?
I think it's like similar to the other side
15
circles
feet or
that we
something?
have.
Yeah.
Looks like
That's
it's about
perfect, so if
size.
you had 4 people playing in a band or something.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's what
They
we-
don't fit well.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's we were going for, it's, this is, actually, I think I used almost the same, actually, that same circle size, cause I was like, that's just, feels like a good size.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So,
Nobody's gonna fall off it.
yeah.
So overall,
It's not that high.
I really like the design. I love that you added 2 types of areas with the swing chairs.
All about the swings.
Good job. You were listening.
I can't wait to do vegetable gardening classes where we're actually like, here, have a vegetable garden.
Yeah. Oh, I was thinking that when we were looking at it. So the vegetable garden is here, so it gets the south sun, but it's behind the trees in the south. And my garden is actually exactly in the same spot, but it only has like those 2 trees far, far to the right, and not the ones next to it. It doesn't grow anything.
So
Well,
maybe
I lied. It grows a lot, but nowhere near what it should because it
Know
starts
what
to
you
get
want
sun
it
at
to.
11.
Oh.
So if you assume that
So I
like
think we could remove, so this one is the one that's staying, that we were thinking of staying, that exists. So if we removed this one, right?
As in,
Well,
don't add
think
it.
something to
I guess
the
don't add
right.
it. Yeah, sorry, that's
So
a,
we
this
want
is a new
the
one.
eastern exposure for the morning.
Yeah, the
sun, as
morning
you were
suns,
saying.
yeah.
But it's a good point, and I
You might
think
just wanna
that
shove it up
we might
further,
need to
I don't know.
rotate a little bit and move things a little bit to maximize that.
Yes, for the Easter, yeah.
So I have the random nitty gritty. Overall, I like it. The stump seats, because we live in the woods and we played with this idea of stump seats. They'd be treated, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Like, because
Absolutely.
the termites were there within a week.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, no, these would be, these aren't, these wouldn't just be like, we chopped it, we threw it in
These
the
are
other.
fancy.
Because in the picture
That's
they're
a
like real
fact.
raw looking.
Yeah, we actually, we use them a lot in a lot of our childcare and like, natural kids designs is kind of, cause there's dual purpose, cause you can kind of also like step on them like in a circle right in a
Yeah.
line. But yeah, no, they're like very well treated ones. They're,
Because the idea is super cute, and I'm
Yeah.
just like looking at this picture. I'm like, yeah, we have those. Termites. And the wood chips, kind of the same idea, is because they have wood chips in a lot of the playgrounds.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
and
my
I also
two
worry
main-
about the maintenance with wood chips.
Yeah.
Yep,
Me too.
yeah.
I mean, we have enough trouble with mulch.
Sweeping,
Sounds good.
refilling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds-
I mean,
sounds
just
good to
just
me.
make it all one happy.
I gotcha.
What about that rubberized stuff that goes like under playgrounds, like just in that area, it's
How about the
rubbery, but it
fake, the
stays?
rubber mulch like I have under my fruit trees?
So you can do, that's bonded
And
rubber
it's
mulch.
squishy.
So there's bonded
Oh,
rubber
you
mulch
can-
and
you
then
can do
there's
bonded
poured
rubber
in place
mulch.
rubber. We use them both on playgrounds.
I have, it looks like mulch.
Yeah, no,
You
that-
would
that's what
swear
that-
it was
Is it
mulch
stuck
that's under my
together
fruit trees,
or
but
not?
it's, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
VR.
a round ring of rubber, but it, like, people are like, wow, in fact, my neighbor said it just this weekend, your mulch stayed so neat in the storm, and I'm like, yeah, cause it doesn't move, it's a
Yeah, so you can do that. We
Impressive.
do it all the time and it looks very neat and nice and also pretty, looks kind of natural.
And it's
You can get it-
permeable,
Yeah.
so you
It's
don't have to worry
permeable.
Is
about.
it comfortable
you
to
can-
walk on?
Yeah,
It's very
it's like
comfortable to walk
walking
on.
It's just
on,
kind of squishy.
yeah,
it's
it kinda
squishy, but-
squishes a little bit.
Is that right?
It's
Yeah, but
rubbery.
not-
I mean, it's not like you're gonna
Yeah.
bounce on it.
Big rubber.
And then should anybody get a little rough on the swing, they're not gonna hurt themselves.
Yeah, well, that's what it is rated for, playground safety, so
Okay.
essentially
Rubber.
that's another option we
Yeah.
use besides just the poured rubber.
And
Yeah,
you
just in that little-
can't kill it.
Yeah, that is very true.
So
You
if
can
you
still
wanted a
shovel it.
change in surfacing, that is a good option that you won't really
Yeah.
have to maintain.
Yeah.
Actually, I
But
really like
it
that
would
idea.
be like an added cost. Stabilized donuts is like a pretty cost-effective surfacing.
The one thing I thought for the shade thing is they're putting in parks all over the town I live in, and one of them has a shade thing, but it looks almost like a sail. Does that make sense? Like, and they did it in a pop of color.
Oh, like, you mean
So-
like a fabric sail?
It's actually metal,
Oh.
but it looks like a sail. It's got that curved shape to it.
Sure.
But it's really cool because you're like, the red sail is like, it just happens to be there, so it's kind of a
Yeah.
pop of color. I just,
You could do something
like-
more organic. This is kind of more of, I actually.
but
this
it's the curved shape, which kind of
Sure.
isn't quite as like,
Yeah, and that's why, so actually, just to let you know, I did really think, I can't tell you how long I thought about this shade and how it's gonna be placed and how it was, and that's why it's totally fine if you don't like it. I was actually doing this kind of more from a cost-effective thing, so
Yeah.
if you wanna go something even cooler with her, totally awesome. I'm all about that. This is just kind of more of just like a kind of a dual approach where it
Yeah.
can look kind of fun because you kind of have the panels, but they're actually all like, to size, like they're very actually placed to size and all the
Right.
fun stuff. And I think that the spans, like I calculated per span, like if it's gonna be cost effective at that span type thing, so.
I like the idea of the circular because we have such fluid movement going through the
yeah,
whole
well,
thing.
that's the
very
other
good.
It's
thing,
just
is
a
that it's, I'll
static
have to see if I
line.
can grab a picture
Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
of
no, we
the
could definitely,
sails.
no, that would be, I mean,
And-
I'm all for it.
And where were you thinking of putting that?
Where that
Where the
shade
lights-
thing
oh,
is,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
they use it for in the, like I said,
On the
my
side
town
of
is
the
getting all these
avocado.
grants for parks.
Yeah,
I thought it was a kidney.
It's a kidney bean. You know we're going to refer to it as, okay, story time's in the kidney bean today.
Yeah.
And the bean,
That's what
I
we
like
could
it.
call it the
I
palette.
like it.
Palette.
We can get some Stevens granite rocks that came out of the dye house, and maybe find a place to throw some of those in.
Sure.
The family
I
would
thought
probably
you were gonna
like
say
that.
we could make a shade out of Stephen's linen.
No. We,
That would be great.
it's a possibility, not going there. But if we know, maybe it's the stepping stones, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'd have to ask how
That'd be
much
really
is
cool.
left from our last batch that we got from when we tore the building down on the river. But I know even up in the dye house, there's additional stuff that just got chewed up, so there may be smaller stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're doing one of those little wall things,
Yep, exactly, you could do some.
they may be
fine
small enough to
pieces.
do those
Yeah.
kinds of
Yeah.
things.
I think that the image in here where the rocks and the concrete wall kind of layered
Yeah.
together,
Yeah.
that was really cool.
Oh, so that's, okay, yeah, I guess I never got to that point. To get to that
Wait.
materials, so we had this, that's what,
This-
no, is
That was one of
end?
the end ones.
Yeah, so this whole idea
The
of, so
number
sorry, number
4.
4, was this theme of this idea of kind of, 'cause looking at what you guys already have is like these really, like we kept on saying, these really awesome boulders and, yeah, I
Have
know,
rocks.
I can't tell you how many times I said, I love the boulders. But this idea of kind of like integrating, something that's very kind of craft, the concrete that kind of like meets it, and it's kind of this fun juxtaposition. So you can kind of see from, image number 4, those 2 images at the bottom, not necessarily as stark as the one on the right where they had these 2 different bright, they had the really bright colored wall, but the idea of kind of crafting it into these existing walls where they kind of meet and they kind of have these really kind of cool juxtaposition. That's why it kind of gives the concrete a little bit more life at the same time. So you can see I'm a fan of both things.
I think it would be kind of neat if you made one of them look like an open book.
Or yeah, that,
The way that you place the stones, so it looks like an opened book.
like a card, like
Okay, we'll call the Stonewall Trust. And there's a farm in Vermont that the Stonewall Trust has its dry stone. There's no mortar or anything, and it does look like a book opening. It's quite impressive. I don't want to know how much it cost.
Yeah.
I like that this kind of looks like a dinosaur fossil. I think all the kids would enjoy that.
yeah.
Awesome, dinosaurs all the way.
So what it is, the picture kind of got cropped a little bit from the bottom, but so it's like a beach. So like when you see on the beach, they have those big rocks. So instead of moving those big boulders on the beach, they kind of did these stairs that kind of kept the boulders where they were, but they kind of crafted it so it still looked good and still also met requirements, but kind of just utilized what was there and kind of try to make it pretty. in a kind of modern, functional way. But, yeah, I think it's, that's why, because for cost effectiveness, that's why like concrete tends to be on the cheaper side than straight up, than stones all over the place. So, yeah, I think that was the purpose of that, was just kind of really trying to, that's why this one, we really tried to keep, like, I can't tell you how long I spent just trying to make sure I did not move any big major trees or like nothing went around it or all that stuff. Like really, the site really tried to help dictate what it is, and I think I'm glad that at least we at least listened, right? Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
cool.
Sure
Very well.
did, yeah. Yeah, good work.
And the perimeter wall again, the materials, 6 feet, 6 feet, 6 feet,
It's a
3
fence.
sides of the fence, yeah, 3
6
sides.
feet on the right side.
Yes.
And 4 feet on the top and the bottom,
Okay.
and nothing on the other side.
Because
Nothing.
we have
That
that
just-
massive
Yeah,
wall
okay.
of arborvitae.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
want.
So, does that sound good? 4
Ma-
feet on the top and bottom? So you could climb over it, but it
But it
keeps
doesn't
the
make you
little
feel
ones
like you're in a
in.
box.
Right.
I mean, I hate to put all the work into this and have you sit in there and feel like all you see are walls.
Yeah, and we were hoping that's why too, we kind of tried to also move in those buffers. We knew that there was something happening on that wood fence, which we also, I forgot to mention there, thought it'd be kind of cool, that could also maybe have a mural on it, and it's wood.
Yeah,
It's
right.
very easy painting medium, or something to do with the kids, maybe they do something that kind of, that back wall. But otherwise, everything else kind of got as pushed as much as we kind of could manipulate it so we can get as much landscape to buffer those areas. And so, yeah, maybe that's, and that's why we were also thinking the wire mesh fence, because I mean, you can climb it, but it's also, it's not as easy to put your shoes in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But-
hard to.
Depends on how tall, like, again, so it just depends on how you guys are feeling about that. That was the thought behind that.
Could also go 3 feet.
That's a bit much lower.
According to the highway department, if you're corralling children, it has to be 4. Just thought I'd share that.
They,
that.
what? the
When I
highway
called them
department?
about temporary fencing
Right.
for story time, the head of highway was like,
Ah.
well, if it involves children, it has to be 4 feet. I
That's true.
assume
I think they
he,
know that
Yeah.
because of the baseball fields.
yeah, I was like,
Ah.
and I assume it's probably has to do with like children near traffic is probably different.
Yeah,
than-
4
yes,
feet
it's
makes
gotta be
sense.
4
I was
feet.
just- The highway department in charge of children was like, what?
I don't know, I had no idea until I called about temporary fencing and they were like, yes, must be 4 feet high.
I think
Okay.
4 feet is sufficient. If you go with a 6-foot fence, it's a lot
Yeah.
more money, and they're gonna get over that too if they want to.
Right.
I mean, if somebody really wants to
4
get in
feet should
there,
be fine.
yeah, I would think 4 feet should be fine.
Yeah, and the mesh, like she said, gonna make it harder to climb.
I think the mesh is prettier, the wire mesh, than the wooden, and the wooden I feel over time would rot and need to be replaced more.
It looks
than
like a
Yeah, and
farm
the
fence
metal
to me.
kind of,
Yeah.
It is
the
a
metal
little
kind
more
of
garden.
like
Yeah.
You can see
disappears
through
into
it,
the,
yeah, if it's, I agree, yeah.
I have
Yeah,
it,
like
di-
the
have it
black, it's like
disappear as
elegant.
much as possible,
Yeah,
you
That's
know,
my feeling,
yeah.
Yeah, so
So
And-
just black it is.
we like the display.
And what you just mentioned about kids, do we have to have 4 sides? Do we have to have that all corralled in for kids?
I think it's only the barrier between the space and the parking lot, that we
Okay.
have to have some kind of,
Okay, I just
Division.
make
But I think
sure.
last time when we
That's nice,
talked,
so
we
they don't
said
go
that
wandering or something.
we
yeah,
definitely
we don't wanna
wanted it on
wander,
the-
we don't want them wandering into the neighbor's yard
Yeah.
either.
Right,
so-
no, I totally understand. All of a sudden you just mentioned corralling them, and I went,
Yeah.
we're leaving one side open.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, yeah, 'cause did we decide that arborvitae is, like, all that is thick enough all the way to the edge of the property line?
I think
Okay.
so.
It's
It's a natural,
pretty
natural
solid
Okay.
over there.
fence,
No, I mean, I guess you can technically, I'm only joking around, but I mean, you can technically say that's a 4-foot fence.
Yeah.
Like-
Slightly higher than 4 feet, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was just when we
Alright.
called about the temporary when I called about the temporary fencing for outdoor story time.
Yeah.
Couldn't
I
we
was
just
told
put
that-
little collars on them?
Yes.
I'm into sure. I'm into that.
Invisible fencing.
Yeah, oh.
You get handed your
It's-
collar for story time.
It really is,
Like,
it is a really
great.
invisible fence.
So does it sound like a good time to move on to the cost estimate?
Or was there any other?
Yeah.
Do we like the clear-
Oh, sure.
Sure, why not? Let's see how far off
Yeah.
the mental estimate is for
Yeah.
this.
So, hold on,
Okay.
sorry, just super quick though. So, we just, the other thing I just really wanted to make
Mhm.
sure, cause the one thing that did change a lot was the planting, like the garden bed. Is that sufficient to have like a learning, that one learning bed, and then kind of also have like a annual, that
I
annual,
think
okay.
so, yeah.
We'll
We
look
just,
at the different.
Lita especially liked the idea of being able to do like, we're all going to poke beans in the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's
So
just gonna be more sun.
Yeah, I think we're gonna try to do we're gonna try and do a shade study
Yeah, we're gonna
as
do
well.
a shade study to make sure
what-
we get the best spot.
Yeah, see what we could do with that.
And so this also has,
Is it
it's
move
one
it where the
picnic table.
and move those-
Or that
Is
too,
that
you can also
enough?
switch, yeah.
Like, is one picnic table enough? So this is one picnic table, and then depending on how you use this space, this could also be for
Eating.
snacking,
Yeah,
sitting.
I mean, I kind of feel like you want to minimize the amount of trash that's going to be created.
Yeah.
So minimizing the eating spaces is probably a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, we figured too, like, if you're sitting kind of on the platform steps a little bit, you can kind of like put your, you're sitting down there, you can kind of put your feet up a little bit
Yeah.
over there, a little bit, maybe flexible.
Okay. All right. If there are more comments, please keep them coming. And we can
Lights, Ben.
Certainly.
so the cost estimate.
Hello, we're back in.
And it's going to
let's
dim,
turn that back
and
off.
then it's going to go back up again, because that's what these lights do.
Oh yeah! Wow.
I didn't do that.
Yeah,
He
no,
said, what
they
did I
all
do?
that. You should try being the only one in the hall. You
Oh,
go into
so
the mailroom, the
sorry.
lights come on, and then they go off again, and I'm always like, I think it's haunted.
So the cost estimate, I know they're still going around. There's two sides to it. The side with more information is a cost estimate for everything on the site. So the pathways, the slope walkway, the furniture, the pergola, the planting.
Oh, I wasn't too far off.
And then the other side, and we can go through it more, but the other side has the hard costs so like the total cost from the front side, and then some soft costs, so the design fees for our studio MLA, and then other consultants that we think would be useful and some necessary, and some estimates on our side of what their fees might be. So I think maybe it's best to start off with the longer side that has like itemized things for square footage and how much a lounger might cost, etc.
And just, these are just all, so can always, they're, a lot of these, in order to get prices, right, you kind of have to pick a product. They can always fluctuate as well.
Depending on the
exact-
piece, the Adirondack chair that you want. So we picked one.
Or like the bench you want,
Right.
or the type of,
Okay, for that price, we're cutting up a tree with a chainsaw, and I'll paint it with turpentine for the stump seats. We're gonna do DIY
Right, so the stump
seats.
seeds, like you were saying, if you cut them, if you just get them from your yard, they might not last that long.
So
The
I'll put some varnish on it, it'll be fine.
The stump seeds, so there's a company that I think they're Canadian, but they make really beautiful hardwood stump seats, and they sell them at different price points. And this,
Didn't we talk about using those stones from the circle?
yeah, so
Moving them?
so actually, this is a good time we can talk about where different pieces, where we can save money in different areas if we need to. And we also included a 20% contingency. So at this stage, prices can fluctuate a lot, so we add in a 20% contingency. As we get closer and closer to the final design, that contingency can get smaller. And then of course we can change different things, like you said, like we can just take out the log stumps, or we can find a different lounger. Like for example, the story walk panel, my estimate is for a contractor to build one that we all agree, the design that we agree on, and maybe for each one it costs $400, for example, and they're going to make 20 of them, or I forgot how many I put. 25.
Wow.
Right. So that could change depending on what you want for each piece.
Where is the $100 birdhouse coming from?
Yeah.
I'm making them. Don't
I was gonna
push
say,
that.
do you not remember the paint your own birdhouse craft thing we did for
I
kids.
have one, y'all can
Those,
have it.
I was gonna say, there we go.
We could do it, story time, make your own birdhouse.
We're just gonna randomly put them around, it'll be great.
Awesome.
I'm impressed with the $1,200 trash and recycling containers myself.
So.
I think we have some extra plastic garbage cans. Just throw out there.
Maybe not.
But yeah, like I said, I wasn't too far off.
So on our end, I don't think we know what the actual budget is for what.
I don't know if we actually have one.
Okay.
You know, we kind of, yeah.
So we don't know if there's a number that we need to stay under
Yeah.
as a goal.
And that's why this kind of just shows, we tried to pick, you know, things that we knew that were just systems that were a little bit more cost effective, so like decomposed granite, but then, you know, maybe, that's why like you can always, we thought we'd show some nicer-ish pieces, furniture-wise and things like that. So if you wanted to like, again, you can always find substitutes and things, like that's why those are kind of that way. But that's why I think construction-wise, we tried to go for a little bit more on the lower cost, but just structurally sound, but still can look.
And simple.
Yeah, that's why the simplicity with the, not doing, you don't need a whole bunch of different contracts for different types of surfacing or all this other, you know. That's why we kind of stayed away from pavers, because we thought that we really try to draw attention, your view up instead of on the ground, and just more the natural experience. But, you know, there's, you know, here and there, different things here and there that'll always.
Does anyone have questions about the hard costs on this side? Or comments? Like, that number feels crazy.
I mean, a picnic table for $2,590. I mean, that's like a stone.
So just for like reference, so this picnic table here, number 4.
I'm gonna say it's one of the ADA compliant.
It's like a fancy one. It's ADA compliant,
So that
also
people
beautiful.
in wheelchairs
Right.
and people with mobility access can sit at it. It's not your standard.
That's what I'm saying. It's got to be something that
But we can-
so
but-
not like go to Home Depot.
Yeah,
buy
it's
a
not
picnic
just a wooden picnic table,
like
it's got-
But we
some-
could also find an accessible picnic table that is much less money. So if that's, so we can, there are options for all of these pieces.
Yeah, and there's lots of other things with like product warranties and things like that. So like a lot of the products that we just usually try to show, like for example, like these, like this company MMCT that does these, like they're like in parks around the, you know, like they do them for, you know, that's why they're more on, that's why we were showing kind of like these expensive sides. Not saying that like, oh, everybody uses them, but more that they're just durable. Like you could go run out to Home Depot, for example, you know, kind of do something at the bare minimum. Or there are, and that's why we're trying to say, there are things definitely in between. They're just, you know, it's just kind of giving you that option of like, you know, this is the type of park, you know, like a picnic table that would be at like someone would put like in a public park. Because like they offer like warranties of, product warranties for 20, 30 years, some crazy amount, you know, but that's why it's that upfront cost. So that's why there's a lot of different options out there. And that's why we're always, because we didn't have a budget, we kind of were like, well, let's kind of show what you could kind of do, what's expensive, what's not. But
You need something sturdy and durable.
Yeah, I don't wanna have to do it again.
And no maintenance,
I
yeah.
don't wanna have to replace it in 5 years.
And also the look that you're going for. So I don't know if we've nailed that down yet, but like for example, this picnic table is like a little bit interesting and has like steel legs and like a, you know, a beautiful wood top. And we could do like something that's
color.
right. You
Yeah.
could do something that's like more rustic looking if you want to go in that direction. So we have other choices.
And that's why we tried to afford like this plan of Fords for you to kind of go kind of more with that modern contemporary or going the total opposite edge of rustic, but like the idea of, that's why we're kind of integrating that idea of meeting that concrete and the boulders, like kind of the old and the new. So it kind of allows you to play with different views. So that's why we were thinking like to add fun, like the pops of color really come from like the fun Adirondack chairs that are bright, or like in the picnic table that they have like a powder blue showing there, like you can get that any color, you know, powder coated colors, everything, that could be an orange or something fun, or if not, maybe that's not what you're going for. So there's a lot of different types of feelings, I guess you can kind of go for in styles, but that's kind of what we were also trying to do with this plan as well, was to allow for that.
What is MMCITE?
That is it's a company. It's
a
an
company. I thought it was a
That's where they get the
material.
That's where they get the price from.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's
I
you're just
just-
trying to show
yeah.
the company, for example.
Mhm.
So the semicircular bench for 5,000. What's that made of?
Wood. It has,
It's wood.
it's wood, and also I believe it has steel.
No, that one, oh yeah. Oh wait, that one was supposed to be, yeah, I think it's even cheaper because it's supposed to be the walnut one. We don't need the steel.
The
legs.
one that goes around the bottom, though.
Number
That's
6?
what we
Oh,
priced.
that
That's
one.
what we
Oh,
It
priced.
that's
says,
what you
one,
priced.
well, one says curved bench, one says semicircular bench.
Okay.
The semicircular is more expensive. Is that number 6?
That's
Yes.
gotta be the
I'm
big one.
assuming.
Yeah.
Yep, and then there's a curved bench kind of at the,
Entry.
yeah,
Okay.
where
Number
the
3.
slope walkway and the
Curved
steps.
number.
Yeah, number 3.
Oh, they're
Oh,
there,
yeah.
and then there was
It
one.
was kind of like a welcome one, yeah, and then there's kind of one
Another
that's
straight
kind of,
one.
the straight one that was kind of towards the back, that was
Yep.
against a little bit of the retaining that was happening back there.
Number 3 is the curved.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's just a curved, did you, is that the landscape?
But all
one?
basically wooden?
Mhm.
Okay.
They think they
Wooden
use like a
with,
treated Ipe. I think that one was probably they use Ipe wood for that usually, which is a very, very hard, like strong wood. So that's, again, this is like a park, something durable that would go in a, in a park, because again, that's like that guaranteed thing. But again, kind of drop it down again. And that's what we also provided the companies, so you can kind of like check out some of their things.
yeah,
with the-
that's a good point. If you are interested in looking at different products, it's
Or
actually
different.
really fun.
It's like looking at furniture for your new library building.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I can get the pricing for you if you want.
Yeah, but it doesn't even have to be these, but that's why it just kind of gives, because again, we were saying without the cost, the budget to go for, we kind of were just gearing towards these more of this look, where it's
Mhm.
kind of both way look. But that's why, again, there's so many things out there, and so if you see anything that you like too, or if there's a style, I guess you can, or see an image that you guys really like, and you're like, this portrays
Yes,
this.
please
what
tell
we
us.
like, We're always open.
You have lighting on the sheet here, but I haven't seen any
Right.
lighting in any of the pictures. What were you?
So we
going
would-
for?
We haven't actually designed the lighting. We don't normally design lighting, but on the other side,
Well,
There's somebody to design the lighting.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
we did put a cost in for lighting because we know that we are gonna need some type of lighting up there.
Something.
We also didn't know what type of it, like if it's like an intensive, like we wanted to meet certain foot candle type
Right.
thing. Cause then also last time people were talking about the little solar, like
Right.
pathway things you can go by at the.
And then like maybe like twinkle lights on the pergola. So there's a big range, and so that's a very soft cost.
So that's why if you guys have more of an opinion on that, or maybe thought about that, like where it's like we really wanna make this, compliant with like nighttime vision, or make sure that we're throwing, cause I think the standard's like 1 foot candle for pathway, like make sure that we have all that, and that's what a lighting designer does. They're like really know all the electrics and things like that go with that. But we always have input and stuff too to like help with the style, of like choosing what they look like. Or again, if you're not really into that, we're putting in like bollards or putting other all this tree uplighting or things like that. Then we can kind of we can kind of help with that as well. So depends on, I guess, the intensity of what you're thinking.
And so we need some program statement for your lighting designer. I mean, like, what hours would we operate in?
And what purposes are you
And
gonna?
what kinds of things we're
Sure.
What are you
doing?
gonna do there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you need some kind of light if you're gonna use the space
Yeah.
for outdoor
January
concerts or
afternoon,
performances.
3 o'clock,
Yeah.
what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't let them go out.
Yeah.
Well, nice, you don't wanna go there,
So on the other side so it's the total cost plus the other soft costs. So last time we talked about a few of the different consultants that we think would be very useful, and Drusilla gave me the arborist name and the town electrician's name. And we, thinking about all the other components that we'll need, we definitely think we're gonna need some consulting from a structural engineer to look at the walls and the stairs and the footings for the pergola. An electrical engineer and lighting designer to look at the lighting, plumbing engineer, because we are gonna need some water up there. It would be really great to have an arborist come and look at the trees that we wanna keep, and make sure they're in good condition. And, potentially a civil engineer to look at the drainage and make sure we're getting to the existing drains that are on the site.
So as far as water out there, what are we thinking water out there for? I know we need it for gardening room, but
For the garden
like
area.
are you saying that there's gonna be only
Well-
water in one location, or there's gonna be several spaces you can get water?
My recommendation would also be to have some temporary drip irrigation in places where we're planting
Or
new
putting
things.
new plants in, yeah.
Right, even if we're doing native plants, in the first few years, they do need some support.
And
And
again,
then
you
you
don't
can
have
take
to-
it out.
Irrigated.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
currently the irrigation system and I'm not watering a whole park.
No, right, and we want, so I know that you want the plants to do well, and so there are specialists, so we don't actually do irrigation design, but they can come in and do, as minimal as possible irrigation design with drip that they take out after a few years. Or they can leave in and you just don't turn it on until it's a really hot spell in the summer.
But that is a good point. We were thinking of having one hose bib, particularly near that garden area, but was there anywhere else? Do you think that we should maybe put in a hose bib one other place, or maybe
And I
that's-
think,
'cause-
I think having one near the raised bed / picnic table, so that there's one place too that if, I don't know, if Lita's doing something and the kids get dirty, they'll just
Exactly.
turn it on and they can wash off.
Yeah.
But we don't have to worry about somebody turned the one on over here.
And it's all.
And forgot to
flooding
turn it off and
yeah.
it's flooding the place, you know,
Mhm.
For
having
sure.
one that's easily visible.
So is that enough for irrigation? I mean, looking at the plan overall, the right side is mostly you're leaving the current, you're saying you don't wanna disrupt that forest bed, right? So are we talking most of the planting will be on the left side and?
I think
therefore
we
the
would
water
also
will be
propose to
okay?
fill in, so we'd fill in with shrubs and other ground cover material on the right side as well.
So if those need irrigation, is
Mhm.
having just one near the garden bed
Well, cause the
enough?
drip irrigation would be separate.
Yeah,
from
so
the-
it's a separate system. I'm just
the-
talking about like a hose bib.
Yeah,
like
that
you
would,
just
that would
wanted
be
to-
like a pump thing.
Obviously, it's
one
getting water
faucet.
from somewhere,
Yeah, so
right?
the others
So
you won't
it would be
actually,
something else.
you probably won't see it very much. So it'll basically be like just a little
It's
pipe
just
that.
irrigate. It's on a different system, so.
Yeah, it's like a hose with holes in it.
Exactly.
Essentially.
So,
Yeah.
so there'll be water, that system, and then there'll be water that you could water the garden bed, so like anyone could access it maybe.
That's the point, is that you can anybody can turn on that one hose bib, but the other thing is through an irrigation system, control
Yeah.
it.
So you do still have to install one on each side, but
Yes.
one is public. and one
No,
is
I don't think there would be a
public.
hose bib on the other side.
Yeah, we're just gonna do one hose bib, I think, near the raised plant, but irrigation, everything that's green essentially is gonna have some sort of irrigation attached to it in
Yeah.
some way.
You just never see it.
So you just have
what
to water
about
there
the care?
somehow.
Yeah, but
That's
it
what
would
I'm
be,
saying.
it would be connected to a.
Like a main water
A
pipe.
water pipe.
Yeah, it would go underground
Yeah.
and you wouldn't see it.
Uh-huh. So we have a cost for the irrigation, like a plumbing and irrigation engineer.
Yeah.
And then, but I also did include another price for like installing the irrigation, which can be expensive on the front end. So there are two costs for that.
This is a local person also too, but they have a local.
We're gonna get a
Mhm.
couple of 100-foot hoses and some
Yeah.
pins and.
I'm just wondering the care, I guess, that wouldn't be a question for you, I don't know, the care for the water system, like during the winter.
Drip irrigation, you just drain it at
Just-
the.
Who's gonna drain it?
Oh, it takes.
That's my whole thing is like,
I mean,
how-
that's the
care
kind
for
of thing,
that.
that's the kind of thing that I do around the building, George and I do around the building anyway, we have to drain the outside faucets
Okay.
before, I mean, it's just,
That's not a big.
yeah, it takes like 10 minutes,
Well,
it's
that's
not.
They just gotta
my
remember to
fault.
do it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the whole thing is.
But I mean,
Somebody remember
we
to
have
add
to
to
remember
the
to,
list.
we
Yep.
have to remember to do the
Do-do
outside
list, yeah.
faucets and stuff
Leave it to
anyways,
your
so.
children.
Yeah.
It's just to keep it on the
Yeah.
radar.
Speaking of like costs of installation, so in the contractor built items, it looks like it's like itemized per item, so if they're saying laws, you know, 352 of an individual, something for $200 for 750. So what's the installation? So are you guys installing it
No.
for free? Is someone
No.
installing?
No, so the whole cost of this would include installation.
Okay,
so the
they
top
have, like,
part-
an installation cost per item?
No. So if you look at the top where it says site furnishings, there's a subtotal, and then we multiply it by 2 because oftentimes that's what a contractor would do. And so that includes the getting it to the site and the contractor to install it. So that installation cost is built into the total for the site furnishings.
Gotcha.
And then for the contractor built items, the installation is built into the cost of like, how long would it take someone to build those steps
Gotcha.
and get the material? So this is from like our experience and really talking to contractors that we've worked with. So obviously I'm not a contractor, but this is definitely an informed cost estimate that includes all of that stuff.
And a lot of these too, when we plug these in, you'll see a lot of very round numbers, because just, we're still considered in, concept, we haven't even really put any plans together, so that's the other thing. I know that we have the contingency, or, things are kinda ballpark, but they're quite ballpark.
Mhm.
So don't let it, I just don't want it to scare anybody, because things can be very variable, but because we're still also very conceptual, it's also hard to gauge a real number. So,
Okay, so we have about basically 600,000 on this hard cost side. If you were to estimate with a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the cheapest products you could pick versus 10 being most expensive, what did you pick when you chose what you put on this side? From 1 to 10, where are we?
So I would say the furniture is on the 8
yes.
upper end.
Okay.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say, because I was about to say I would say the site probably would say 7 to 8.
Yeah.
I'd probably put in this, it's like a little bit, because some of the things are a little bit more on the pricier side. Yeah, like the furniture, we picked some very nice, we tried it to be simple furniture, but again, it was just to give you that vision. But then, yeah, some of it's kind of, so it's a little bit on the pricier side. Some of the stuff was kind of.
Is less, like, so for
Yeah.
example, the retaining wall. So the cheapest retaining wall would be to do like concrete block.
concrete.
Yeah,
So
or
poured
you can do
concrete
a
is
ceiling.
more expensive.
Really?
Yeah.
It is.
So poured concrete gets like in the middle, and then the most expensive would be like a stone wall.
I could do CMU to the concrete block
Right.
with the stone veneer on top of it.
So that's
how
more
you can
expensive
make-
than the concrete wall, but less expensive than the just stone wall.
Yeah.
Like a veneer.
Yeah, if you wanted to, but then we were talking about, like, I'm saying, like, because you're talking about the granite, so it's
Mhm.
like maybe if there's more of a local source.
Right.
Can always, or if there's, again, there's a lot of different things that you can kind of.
Right. One thing that, so there
Yeah,
is a lot of pathways, so the material we chose for the pathway is on the less expensive side, but we love this material. So it's more expensive than just stone dust because you're adding this binder material, but it lasts longer. It's, the material doesn't move. It moves a little bit, but doesn't move as much.
Yeah, no dust and mud.
Yeah, no, just.
Yeah, so that is on the less expensive side, and I would think like the components are on the more expensive side, so.
That's why
It's
I'd
a
say
mix.
7 to 8.
No, that's
So
good.
that's
Yeah,
why I'd
okay.
say, like, yeah, so overall, it's like we picked high quality things.
Yes.
But that could also allow you to range in price.
Right.
So I would say, yeah, about a 7 to 8.
Right.
On that scale, so.
And it gives you room to move.
Mhm.
Another
Yeah.
thing like to think about is like we put in for trees like 18 new trees, which trees are expensive. They're also really great. Maybe you want to save some money and have fewer trees, or save some money somewhere else and have like a different material for the wall, for example. So there are different places that we can pick and choose. So maybe it makes sense to like sit on the numbers and think about them, and then, I'm not sure if this is something good for you to talk about at another meeting after you've had time to think about it.
Yeah, and we definitely need to figure out what we want for the lighting.
Mhm.
Sure, that's a
Right,
good,
that's
that's a very good point.
really
Yes.
up in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that comes from us.
Yeah.
But I guess if we wanted to just go back really quick, just to make sure that we didn't miss anything, was there any other kind of like comments that were, positive or negative that, with the plan besides, I wrote got a few things from what we said before, but I just wanted to make sure we were kind of like targeting all the things that we want while still being flexible and still going with what we were thinking of from the beginning, so.
I like the ramp, how it's gradual.
Oh, I like,
Okay.
and
yeah, that
everybody
whole,
can use
your
it.
whole entry concept, I thought was a definite improvement.
Yeah.
What are you thinking for a gate at the top where they both meet? I mean, yes, you say a gate at that top where the
Yep.
We're
the
gonna use
non-ramp
one
and
of
the stairs meet.
We're gonna use one of the big boulders, and it's gonna be like Indiana Jones.
Or all the way
Accessory,
down.
yeah.
Well, and that, again, like that's,
That's
so
all riddle
we didn't really necessarily know about the type of fence we were thinking right
Mhm.
before. So
That's
we
true.
kind of wanted it to kind of go with
Work
it, but
with
we
it,
could
yeah.
do something, it could be really clean and simple, where it's just simple, simple metal post, like kind of, if it was to go with the clear mesh, the mesh fence, or, it could be more ornate.
It could be like a.
Pearly gates.
Maybe
Maybe not.
I'm done.
Maybe not.
I'm waving, I'm waving.
He's
know
been
what,
waiting
Eddie?
all night for that. You got
I know, we haven't heard much from
I'm-
you. but
I'm done.
that was
That's it.
That
Hey,
was a good one.
you just gotta nail it when you can.
We win. But we can definitely start looking at gates, but just, again, it's kind of more of like, do you want a
Well, and there's a
super
sculpture
fancy
right
one,
inside
do
it.
you want a kind of more minimal?
If you have a gate that you can kind of see through.
Yeah, no, we're talking the black mesh, so
Right.
it kind of disappears.
Right. Yeah.
But the gate we want to see.
Yeah, the gate you wanna
And if
see.
there's-
You
if
don't want
there's
an
the
ugly, just a
sculpture-
swinging metal gate.
If the sculpture is
It'd be
right
nice, the black
inside it.
with like a nice
you know.
ornate like black metal, like they have like in New Orleans and
Mhm.
like
Wrought
the
iron.
district,
Yeah.
the nice
arch?
black.
Are we walking through an arch?
Well, you know how like the top of the gates, it's a door.
She wants a fancy wrought iron gate
Yes, I
with a
do.
curved top and everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's not coming in at $1,000
I don't
over there.
think that's- yeah,
I think
no.
you just raised that item.
It's okay, we'll make some birdhouses.
Yeah.
And we're making our own stump seats. So,
Where it's just
we're
thin
fine.
metal posts, because we're only doing 4 high. I mean, it could be very simple like that, where it's just like a basic, just black, because if you want it to kind of blend in, that's why black is actually a very interesting kind of color to work with the nature, because it kind of disappears and reappears. And so if you wanted to do, again, just kind of mimic the mesh type thing, you can actually just kind of almost build a frame that would be similar with the very thin post with and then just put the wire mesh, and that would be your gate almost. You could do that.
But then
or
you'd
you
have
could-
this, I mean, like, I'm mentally walking up to it and seeing the sculpture
Right.
that the
Mhm.
Crawford family wants to give as being the thing that you really see,
Mm-hmm.
not like a really solid gate.
Yeah, oh, no, so that's what I mean, like, it's
No.
very transparent,
So it'd be something that the sculpture would be like, you're welcome.
It's
to-
nice when you're looking right through that.
Yeah.
But do you want to see it through wire, like through like?
But like that really kind of disappear, like when it's black
It's-
like that, it really does.
Well, I think
kind
you'll
of-
see over it. So if you're,
I mean,
if
okay,
you're taller than
your
4
son might
feet,
not
you'll
see
see
over
over
it.
But then, yeah,
Just
so
thinking
it's like that
vibe.
mesh.
Like, wouldn't it be better if it was like straight lines or?
let's
Put 11
actually let's
instead of
maybe
all
while you
just-
should table it, you think of like if anyone has images of things that they are thinking or
Yeah.
something you stumble upon.
Get your
maybe
memory boards
send
going.
it to Drusilla.
Yeah, I mean, send
Back
stuff
to high
me
school.
and I'll ask
And
them.
then we'll also brainstorm and have some options too. So
Okay.
I'm
Good.
sure we can come up with something good.
Excellent.
Yeah. But otherwise, we think that it's still going the right, so kind of reevaluate stump seats. it seems like. But otherwise,
Yeah.
but otherwise, cool.
I think
Okay.
we'll plan on hearing back. So the next meeting, like you meet once a month,
Mhm.
and I think our plan is that we're not planning on coming to your next meeting. So
Because our next goal is to get this into actual plan form.
right, so our next steps are to go through our design development process and then construction documents process, all by the end of 2021. So that gives us about 4 months to do a lot of work.
3 months.
3 months.
We're at the end of August already.
Oh my goodness, okay. So, so we have 2 more like design phases, and we'll be doing a cost estimate for each one. But it would be good to hear your feedback to make sure we're going in the right direction. Because it's easier to know sooner if we need to change things up rather than when we do the final design and then we have to just take some things out piecemeal. So it would be great to hear your thoughts about those things.
And also, if I can get a contact for the sculpture. I wrote down the first name and I didn't get that last name.
Maddie Lord.
Lord, that's what it was. Maddie Lord?
Yep.
Madeline,
Madeline.
Oh, Madeline Lord, okay.
So does anyone have questions about our next steps?
Sorry.
No? Okay.
So in terms of like the site furnishings,
Mhm.
and you had asked us to go kind of look at things, and I assume that will be probably the last thing, or one of the last things, right? Like,
So we can always
recycling,
have, like,
trash, and-
these seats could be placeholders, and right
Right.
now, the placeholder is this one piece of furniture, but of course, that piece can change, and that's very easy to switch in and out.
Yeah, and that's, but we do place them, it's because a lot of pieces of furniture kind of like dictate the sizes of things as well,
Right.
right? So, you know, yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
like the placement, I'm saying in terms of like picking an individual
Oh,
item
absolutely.
for the cost, like that's not next month, or
No.
3 months, or.
Well, actually, that will
That-
definitely be,
It's not.
by the time we get to the
You
final
gotta
design,
order
we
it
are gonna
way
need
in
to choose
advance,
them.
way,
Yeah.
months and months in advance.
Yeah, so we'll probably.
Especially with the way
Yeah,
getting anything has been.
Well, also, like, so basically, after we do our construction documents, the plans will be given to different contractors to bid on, and they will need the specific pieces so that they can get the prices, and then they'll give a bid for the whole site. So we will at some point need to finalize, and it does feel kind of soon.
So I guess my question is like, in terms of a timetable for the things you need from us, you need the
Right.
lighting from us.
Right.
You need ideas for pieces from us, so we'll be kind of back and forth.
Yes.
And is there a timetable, because that will happen before you come back, I assume?
Right, so I guess,
Pass along, that's why we're, so the
This
next,
should be
that's
a
what we're saying,
process.
like, so like overall, we're in the
We'll
next
suggest to you, you'll-
quote
Yeah,
unquote
and
design
I'll
phase,
compile
so.
and send us.
Yeah.
Give whatever you want to Drusilla whenever, we can kind of intake all that information now that we kind of like, now things are kind of placed, right, we kind of have an idea of what's happening, you know, now that we're more looking for more concrete things, yeah, any like concrete input is great.
and if, so the next meeting, so you'll have a meeting in September, and then you'll have a meeting in October. If I think we got some information through Drusilla, I think, after your September meeting, maybe that's around the budget. And then the meeting after that in October, maybe we could hear more things about like specific furniture that you, like the style that we've shown. If you don't like that, you know, where, if there's something else that you prefer, for example. And then we are like very able to give different ideas for all of the pieces.
So lighting probably, so we discuss this meeting or next meeting, because that's.
So lighting, furniture, and then
Well,
budget.
Yeah, so they could, yeah.
So would lighting be with budget or lighting be with furniture?
I think if you could talk now, sooner,
About
so, and then
lighting, right.
sooner about lighting would be great, because then we
Yeah.
can really have a productive conversation with someone who will help us figure out what those specific things we need.
Yeah, especially like if we want, if you do decide to start, like, if you do want some like major path lighting with like bollards and things, we do wanna kind of, also, that's kind of also important as well, cause we kinda wanna build that into the design, you don't wanna just all of a sudden be like, you have to pop a bollard here,
Yeah.
and you're like, ugh. So
Right.
that's kind of why the furniture placement type thing happens and all that fun stuff, so. But yeah.
Now that we've taken all of your meeting. Thank you for
Thank
all
you
of your
very much.
thoughts.
Yes.
We have a lot
Right
to
up there.
digest.
Absolutely, and that's why always feel free to reach out.
Yes, please, too.
Very
We
good
like
job.
images, we're all very, I mean, I'm guessing you all are visual people as well, so seeing also very much helps, like especially for style or anything, so. Please feel free to let us know.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Wrought iron Pinterest board.
Yes.
Exactly, there you go.
Yeah, that's gonna blow the budget right there. You know how much those cost?
Go to the Brimfield Fair, you never know, you might
Never
find
know.
out.
Oh,
For a
restoration house parts in New York State, I bet they have perfect wrought iron gates. In fact, they had ones that were 20 feet high the other day.
Oh my gosh. So that they could definitely be for.
And then also, this is just a totally, it's not necessarily off topic, but it's kind of something we kind of wanted to throw out there. Again, we weren't quite, I guess this is more of a question for me personally, but, wasn't quite sure how if you were getting like additional donors, or we needed to like, not necessarily memorialize people, but like if you needed a donor wall, or if you're doing like a, donated tree, for the library park thing, or doing some kind of fun programs where it's like, that type of stuff, that could be kind of fun too, or to kind of also help integrate too as well, so. I couldn't remember, we were talking about maybe there might be some.
Yeah, the only thing that we know of is the sculpture, that
Sculpture.
we'll just have to be able to put something, like a plaque by the sculpture.
No,
that
for
says
sure.
It's a memoriam.
I was also just thinking of the idea, it could be kind of cool to do like
The
a,
Conservation Commission
Right.
also wanted to do something in memory of somebody and make a donation.
But I mean, that's the kind of thing too, if we have the fence, we can always, you can do plaques on the fence too, I've seen that done, and then if somebody gives something at a later date, you just.
absolutely. It was
Add
more of just
plaques.
like, for example, like if you knew of donors, like if you knew about the third for the sculpture, and then you were saying something about the grant, which I thought was great. But like also like, so the conservation was, so maybe they wanna be the signature tree, or, like you're talking about putting that big, maybe they donate to the big tree or something, just kind of those types of little things that might help. That really help kind of, I think, make the place even more unique, which is awesome. That's why I'm gonna start thinking how to use granite. So,
Garden Club wanted to donate, like, something for the beds or that.
Yeah, like if someone,
to work on that and.
or people also like to, like if maybe a bench, some people really like to do that in memory of somebody or. Sorry.
Thank you.
Before I forgot. Oh, and this was yours, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for that.
Have a safe trip
Thank
back.
you.
And that's not your cord, that white cord on the table?
That's your cord.
Is it?
That's the one,
Oh my
because I
goodness.
brought my cord.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna go back to the top of the meeting agenda. Review meeting minutes from July 27th.
The only thing I had was the spelling of Deb Hudgens' name, Hudgins. Hudgens. Hudgens, Hudgens, yes.
When she comes, she's gonna come in person, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, assuming that they haven't shut us down again or something, yeah.
Do you want me to go through mine?
Yes, please.
Okay, Ben is the vice chair.
Not co-chair, vice chair.
For number 4, the last item, project to be completed by June 22nd, 2022. I'm wondering if project completion date, projected completion date, June 2022, might be a better thing. Because we really don't know.
Especially in
Brought
this
up
day and age.
manufacturing too, we don't know. Okay, and the overview of the project, where we get down to where it says Ben Craver about the piece of art. It should be in memory of, because in honor of is used if someone is living. And then for the, let's see, where are we? Number 8, the second motion. It should read, Ben Craver, motion to withdraw $50,000 after discussion amended to $70,000 for expenses associated with the design and development of the vacant lot project to be taken out of the, and this is where it changes, Pearl L. Prophet Memorial Library Endowment Fund, money to be deposited into a new account created for the upcoming landscape project. And that.
It's just a different account up at Greater Worcester.
Yeah.
We mixed up the name of the account, that's
Yeah.
all.
The you and Harriet, well, maybe we can finish the minutes and just
Yeah.
do a quick
Sure.
explanation.
Yep.
That was it for me.
I also saw that, at the beginning, when it said nomination, it never says in there that I accepted the nomination.
Well, that's irrelevant.
Did we allow you to?
Now.
Better now.
Oh, you thought it was optional.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
All in
Nice.
favor? No, I'm sorry, I was
That's all
still
right, that's all right, you were
thinking.
doing, yep.
I wasn't there yet. I knew it was coming now. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Alright. Moving on. Director's report.
So programs, as I put in my report to you guys, we have a lot of upcoming programs. Keep an eye on the website because we're slowly filling in some of the various things that are coming up as they get confirmed. We are planning to have a henna artist at the book sale on the Saturday. We're nailing down final arrangements for that, to have someone there to do henna for a couple of hours. So we'll have something a little special that day.
Is that something that we charge people to have done?
No,
or
that
they-
would be
okay.
a separate program. That's a program expense.
All right.
We've had henna folks before, so this one is very highly recommended. We're, like I said, we're currently making sure that someone can actually be here and that we can handle, space for it to happen and everything, that the henna artist feels safe. We're assuming the weather cooperates, we'd actually do it, I think, outside. It also corrals the mess a little bit.
What if the weather isn't? What will you do?
Then we put them in the children's department.
Okay.
That's where we would have to go, because that space is big enough.
Mm-hmm.
Budget-wise, we're in good shape. We haven't had time to be in anything but good shape. And facility report, the HVAC is fixed, yay. The digital sign is mostly fixed, yay. And playing phone tag with the people who program it to let me talk to it. So it's physically working, but it's being hinky about updating. I was on the phone again with them today. They're working on it. And the cameras should be done by the end of the month. We were playing phone tag about one last piece. But, so facility is doing its thing properly, and we're in good shape.
Questions on programs. So last time we had talked about the book sale, kind of making it a really big event. So the henna artist sounds cool. Are there other things in the works, other ideas?
No, because, the book sale itself is gonna get quite a few people. And there's also, Lita is not yet able to be there that day, so that limits what we can do, because it'll be me, and then the folks working the desk obviously are busy working the desk. So
Right.
we really want the focus to be on coming in and buying books and supporting the friends. We're just gonna have a little bit of fun extra.
Yeah, I saw in one of our books, someone had used a bookmark from another library's book sale from the summer. They had food trucks. I thought that's kind of a cool idea to bring like food trucks, but I don't know. I
You
mean,
have
in
to
terms of, like-
guarantee a certain minimum.
Yeah, you
amount
have to
that
guarantee a
have to pay in
minimum,
advance. And then if they don't sell, then
You're on the hook.
for it.
Oh.
If
Yeah,
it were
that
a
kinda
one-day
like
event,
the
I
case
think that
though.
would work. A long one-day
Yeah.
event where
Yeah.
there wasn't anything going on before. That was the day they had to be there.
Mhm.
But now they've got a couple of days to.
Yeah, so
wander
it is the
around.
3-day book sale. It's a 3-day thing, so we're gonna do the henna on Saturday. in
And I
hopes
think
that
when we
kids will
talk
come.
about a celebration again of the library,
Yeah.
that
We'd
kind of
already
got put
talked
on the
about
back
doing that,
burner.
Yeah.
We'd already talked food trucks for that.
For that.
Yeah,
For
but that
an
becomes
anniversary.
that becomes a
Anniversary.
cost.
I don't think I
It was
there at
before
that
you,
point. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it was
just
COVID time,
yeah.
it was last
Yeah.
year, so it's
Yeah,
like,
got
eh.
But
canceled.
that's
Yeah,
also,
canceled.
that's a cost for us. Like, we'd have to be prepared to guarantee that out of pocket,
Right.
so.
But yeah, we
We're
just
paying
want
for
that to be
henna.
fun.
That is our expense.
Music,
Popcorn.
you know, yeah.
I know Miss Lita made popcorn.
Yeah, we have the big popcorn thing. We were actually talking about doing some of the, because we have our big freezer and we do have ice cream sandwiches left over from the summer reading finale. So we're talking about, ice cream sandwiches are the first however many kids showed up. Eat them outside.
That works.
But yeah, so because it is a multi-day thing, it's hard to do
No, but maybe on the first day or on the Well, I
Well,
guess
actually, we're
Saturday's
thinking
our
of
last
that
day.
Saturday,
That
because it'll be
Saturday,
the
Yeah,
first
'cause that's
Saturday
supposed to be
that's
like the
open.
first Saturday,
Yeah.
we're supposed to have like a big.
But, yeah, so we'll have henna and we'll have some decorations up and we'll have, you know, but we really want people to come and buy books.
Buy books,
Get
yeah.
them out of my
It's the
library.
Friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we want them
Fundraising
to
day.
come and have a big, no? Wasn't that the?
Yeah, Saturdays,
No,
Saturdays.
I understand. Yeah, I know- yeah, I know
But Saturdays,
where
I
you're
mean, I
coming
will
from.
tell
You're
you
right.
that Saturdays are a very quiet day for us.
Right,
It's
so we wanted to
very
drive people
unlikely.
there.
Yeah, I know it's very unlikely that we'll get people, especially a
But
September.
if we're promoting it, I
Yeah.
think that's the
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
that you're
No,
trying to
I
say,
mean,
is
it's-
you wanna promote a lot
It's
more than.
gone
the
out,
idea
you
was
know,
to
it's
promote
in the
something.
paper and what I sent out to the paper for our calendar says that we're gonna have special stuff happening on Saturday, you know, so we'll do what we can, but, you know, I wouldn't expect to have 300 people show up.
Oh, yeah. Well, we could have the henna and pop some popcorn and.
Sounds like you're volunteering.
Yeah, I think you just volunteered, because I'm gonna be.
I know, but how hard is popping popcorn?
I'm wrangling the, you know, one of the reasons I'm there on a book sale day is to keep an eye on, you know, what the friends need as well, so
Yeah.
I can't, you know, like, I'm not really.
Are we bringing another staff person in to be in the children's room, like Patty or somebody?
No, Lita can't be there, so there'll be the two on the desk and me.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
Can we bring a
that's right. Can we
third,
bring
a
somebody in?
third aide in and put her in the
Uh,
children's area to
Yeah.
maybe do a couple of
No,
lessons?
Because we
um,
closed the weekend before, right, so these days.
For the idea
that-
of,
that
yes, I agree.
Money's there.
I know.
I don't know that it's doable. I mean, I can ask if any of them, but, you know, they're like everybody else. They're doing stuff on weekends, and at this point, their schedules are, you know, if they've already committed to something for the family, I'm not gonna be like, you must come in and, so. But I mean, the henna person is handling, like, she handles her own thing.
Yeah.
So she'll be there and,
She's been to the library before.
no, this is a different one.
Different one.
The one that we've had before is everybody, I don't know what's going on that weekend, but everybody is booked,
Hmm.
so.
Hmm.
So my other question was, last time we were talking about budget, and it's 15,000 programs per year?
Yes.
So from last year
Well-
being closed, we must have like quite a big carryover.
We did not take any money out last year.
Okay.
For programming, so we only had about $4,000 left in that account.
I thought we approved it last year.
Do we bring some over?
No,
Yeah,
because
I
we
thought it
were in
was
the.
10,000 and then it was
10,000 was the
15.
year before that.
Right, and
We
then it was
did-
15,000.
We didn't get any money from them last year.
Oh, because last
Thought we
last
did.
month we said it was 15,000
Right,
last year.
yeah,
Right.
we brought,
We talked about it, but
Yeah.
we would have done it at the July meeting and I was not
And
there.
there wasn't.
So we didn't, I was busy having COVID. And we didn't get a check from them last year. Because we didn't know what we were doing for programming because
Exactly.
there was a pandemic going on.
So we should just just double check, because if we think we got the check and we didn't get the check, just make sure the 15,000 is where it should be, right?
Yeah, no, we
Yeah.
did not get a check from
Yeah,
them last
yeah,
year. There was no check from them.
All set with that?
Who's the check from?
Greater Worcester Community Foundation.
All right, moving forward, did everyone have an opportunity to look at what Pat Lovely, thank you very much, Pat,
Thank
for putting
you.
this together? The changes
Mm.
going forward for our bylaws?
They look
I
good.
did hear from a number of people on this, so, what we need, is a motion to accept.
Say it correctly.
Yes, I know, because next month would be actually approving it.
Mhm.
Now, this is the motion to accept the amendments.
So moved.
Can't say so
Can't-
moved, you
no.
have to say I make a motion.
I make a motion to accept.
The amendments.
The amendment.
As presented.
It's presented this evening.
As presented this evening. How's that?
I second.
So then, Pat, you'll make it all nice
And I'll send
bring
it to everybody.
Everybody, and
Yeah,
next
prior
month
to the
we'll
meeting, yeah.
Actually vote on it.
Okay. Thank you, Pat, very,
You're
very
welcome.
much.
Thank you, Ed.
And Ben, and everyone.
And Nicole.
It's a group effort.
So before we get into the names, selecting a name for our lovely landscape project, how do we want, as a board, to vote on this? Are we voting on the name tonight? Are we putting it out there? I know that we want to have it done before our next meeting. That was the consensus I got. So are we putting this out to a vote to patrons, to staff? are we voting tonight? Because we've narrowed it down now to, we went from 19 names and we're down to 8.
Why don't we just talk about it tonight and then vote on it next month? Do we need to do it right away?
Well, then we
Do
won't
we
have
want it
it,
before
we
the
won't have
vote?
it by,
Okay.
when we
Yeah,
want
but
to
I
have it,
don't, I
that's
mean,
why.
honestly, I don't know that we have to have a name by, it wasn't, the Crawford family didn't have a strong feeling about a name, so
did not.
if we can say at the memorial that we're moving ahead with this project and we're planning a name that will in some way honor the Crawford family or members of the Crawford family, I mean, I think that is fine with them. That was certainly the feeling I got.
Yeah, I got the same feeling from Joanna and Caroline, because they're the two we deal with the most.
Yeah, they weren't planning on making a big deal about it at the.
No, they're
the-
exciting it's happened,
Yeah.
they want to
But
participate.
they're not gonna, part of the memorial gathering is not gonna be a, you know, hey, this is gonna be named whatever it is, you know, they're very much, they're excited it's happening, but they don't.
I'm assuming they'll have a chance to see.
Yes,
the
I'm actually gonna,
schematics,
that's why I
yeah.
have a second copy of this to send.
I just feel weird if we opened it up to any more. I mean, we can't.
I don't want to open it up to more names. I want to
Any more
condense
people.
it, and right at this stage of the game, I'd
Right.
like to put the top 3 and get a vote
That would be
on
great.
one. It's basically, we've
Yes.
got it down to 8, and
Yeah.
I can tell you what the top 3 are, and we can vote out of the
I
top
don't
3.
have a problem with that.
Everyone else's consensus?
I'm okay.
All right, so the top vote getter was Crawford Corner. And the next one was Crawford Community Garden. And then we have 4 for a couple of votes. Crawford Reading Garden, Pearl's Nature Nook, and Pearl's Reading Garden, all tied. So, and then there is Pearl's Nature Nook, A Quiet Place to Read, and Pearl's Park, which came in last.
So I would suggest if we're gonna do, the Crawford Community Garden, that we make it maybe gardens. A community garden is a place where people can buy a plot in a vegetable
Right.
raised bed and grow their own food.
Right.
So we wouldn't want people to think
Deceptive.
that they're gonna come grow food in it. It would be like kind of a
Yep.
misnomer. But I
Okay.
think if we added the S,
Community gardens.
then
No problem
it's,
with that.
you know, Boston Gardens.
Well, skip the community, just say Crawford Gardens. I don't know.
It sounds like a cemetery.
Yeah. Or Crawford Reading Garden, I don't care, but community, I had a problem with that one too. People are gonna think I can go there and plant something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what
I
a
agree.
community
Well,
garden
I
is. a
just
place
found
to
it
plant.
interesting that if you look on every page here, it uses, almost every page, it uses the word community. And they did use community a
In
lot.
the
It's
vision?
In our vision
In
statement.
our vision statement as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I was thinking of it as, I know community is used as places people can go to plant, but it also is inclusive.
Well, that's why I was thinking to add the S. So I think if we add the S.
Right.
You can still have the name that people seem to really,
Mhm.
it seems very popular, but it is slightly different from, like,
Right.
community garden is a thing, like, if you Google it, you know, it has a very specific meaning.
Joyce, could you give us the 3
Top 3 again, please.
All right,
yeah.
Crawford Corner is right now at the top.
Okay.
Crawford Community Gardens is second.
Yeah.
And then we have a tie for 4 tie for third.
So what if we just go between the top
1,
2?
2.
I mean,
Crawford Community Gardens or Crawford Corner. And Crawford Corner was the top. So,
So do you want
I
to
don't
do
know.
do I
Corner
want, do you
sounds
want to
like
just
it's-
vote on the 2?
Like it's a place somewhere at the end of the.
But I look at it as
street or
if it's a corner lot. It's
Corner of
the
the
corner of
library.
the library. It's.
Crawford vacant lot.
You know what, people are gonna probably call it lots
I'm
of
gonna be
things.
referring it to the as the vacant lot for years, so, you know, oh yeah, we're having a concert in the vacant lot tonight, you know.
What about, I know,
No,
just
Bill,
the clerk.
Bill, no,
Oh, you
no,
can-
not just the clerk, darling.
I'm thinking Crawford Community Corner. So you incorporate the community, you have the corner, you get rid of the garden.
Look at that. Because I say Crawford Public Gardens in the, like, Boston Public Garden kind of
Oh,
style.
yeah, yeah.
but the Crawford Community Corner is like CCC.
Just
Vacant
makes
lots
sense.
on the better.
Depression, the CCC.
You really think we can get this done tonight?
I don't know. I'm gonna go with 1 and 2, Crawford Corner or Crawford Community Gardens. And if people wanna vote and be done with this.
I like your idea. I do like
You
Crawford
want that
Community
one?
Corner.
That's
I like it.
We can do that.
I like it. I could throw that in the mix. What was the
Crawford
third?
Community Corner?
Corner.
Is that-
Crawford Community Corner instead of Crawford Corner.
Or
Crawford
community
Community
gardens.
Gardens.
It's even weedier than it was, but no, I really don't care. People are gonna just say, that area over there.
The library park or the library.
Drusilla, did the staff have any input into it?
Yes, I gave
Yeah,
choice.
she voted.
Okay.
I voted on their behalf.
And they were in the top 2?
See, so that's a good sign, right?
Since Salem's lot was not an acceptable choice. It was a suggestion, but, you know.
By a raise of hands, how many vote for Crawford Corner?
I could do either one.
Yeah,
I'm easy.
that's how I am pretty much.
Done. I'll put my hand up.
It's that or the Crawford
Community Gardens.
Gardens with an S.
I still think
And then-
without an S, but.
Simpler the better.
I'm-
Simpler the better.
I wouldn't think community garden only as a buying thing.
Oh, it's not a buying thing. It's an like it's a place where people buy like or people have
Right.
a plot of
Yeah.
land.
Right, and they.
Back in
and
the
they
Depression
and they
there,
grow
yeah,
in
during World War
sections.
II.
Like the
Right, right.
Fenway and.
Yeah.
Boston.
That wasn't what first came to my mind when I first heard it.
Yeah, but it's kind of like if you were to say, it's a term that has a definition. So if you, I mean, you can say, I'm going to use this term which has a separate definition for my thing that isn't that, and so be it. But the point is, if you Google community garden, it has a definition. I mean, whatever.
Okay.
I
So
don't
I'd
feel
go
super
for-
strong
I
about
would
it.
go
I'm
with
just saying that
corner,
there is.
Period. Crawford Corner.
Crawford Corner.
So we have 2
Got
votes for
2.
Crawford Corner. Okay. Crawford Community Gardens.
I think I'm gonna go for the corner too.
Now we have 3.
Now we got 3.
I don't care one way or the other.
And then Crawford Community Corner. All right, Crawford Corner was my choice as well, so
I
I'd
mean,
say
it seems
that
like
that's the top.
Top.
It was
before,
top
now.
before.
Done.
So
Yeah.
Crawford Corner will be the name of our landscape project going forward. Done.
Okay.
Okay.
If I can just say too, the Pearls Nature Nook, I really liked that, and I wondered if it could be used within the library, and a corner could be set up with books on nature and science and anything related to learning about what might be growing in the garden, the animals that might be in the woods. I was thinking talking about the mural on the fence, if it could have some of the vegetation with some animals that you might find.
Wolves.
Or
Not
it could be the-
necessarily
Grizzly
wolves.
Let's go for a
And
squirrel,
moose.
please.
Squirrel, possum, skunks, yeah, birds.
Moose, grizzly bears,
Yeah.
rhinoceros.
You two, hush, both of you.
Pearl Station Nook were on the list, that would have been my vote. Just so we're clear.
Yeah, I know, I thought that was gonna be more
Which one?
popular too.
Yeah, the
Pearl
Pearl Nature Nook.
I voted for that in the
That would have
beginning.
been my top.
I put
did
it
too.
in
That was in my
there.
top 3 too.
Did you put it in your top 3?
It was my
Pearls
one,
Nature
yeah,
Nook, there were
my number 1.
2 people voted for that.
Or I think it was my,
I got one.
only 2?
That was one of mine too.
That was
Well,
mine.
3 people, but 1 voted for it with a quiet place to read a book. 2 people voted for
With
it
just-
without.
Just
Yeah,
Pearls
yeah,
Nature
yeah.
Nook,
Gotcha.
which then we could use as a
What's the
tagline,
difference?
a quiet place to read a book,
Yeah,
but
it's a
not
tagline.
all
Yeah.
of it as part
Yeah,
of the
no,
title.
when you ever mentioned a friend saying that.
Yeah, if it makes it more than 2 or 3 words, it just becomes like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that did, yeah,
Well,
that's
yeah,
why you had
but
to.
it was a
shift
tagline.
I
That's
think
the
it's a
idea
cute
of it,
tag,
like,
yeah,
just
it's a
be
cute
little
tagline,
tagline.
nice to advertise in,
Yeah,
It
right.
you know,
could
with a
be,
little poster and that kind of thing.
a section here even, because like half of it is very naturey,
Yeah, yeah.
whereas this other half, like they're saying, the left is very much the community section, right? Whereas the right is really the more
And there could be a little
nature
sign in there that
paths.
says, Wells Nature.
Right? Wouldn't that be cute?
That'd be cute, that'd be
There
really
you
cute.
go. Other business. Moving on.
Click, click.
We'll be on that name forever.
Ever.
Other business. What are people's thoughts of the presentation tonight with the budget?
That was right about where I figured it would be.
Yeah.
I think when you're dealing with a community project like that, that's a.
It's gotta be high-end, that's why I asked the questions. We
yeah.
gotta have durable. We've gotta
Yeah.
have durable. It's not our
Do you
backyard.
think we should set a budget?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
that's-
just saying
I mean,
though,
Yeah.
like, that was high, I think they can come down in some things.
Yeah, I think
really
they can
do.
come
I
down.
think we
Yeah,
need to
that's
give
why
them
I
a
asked. I
budget.
wanted to see where we were here.
I think
I
we
was
need to give them
expecting it to be like a 9. When she came back with a 7, I was like,
Yeah, no,
Really?
it's
But-
about what I figured it would be, having done a number of projects like this.
When we were getting bids, we actually got someone who did
One
the whole
was,
thing.
that gave
and
us
I was-
that,
I don't
almost
have
that
it.
same exact price.
It was,
Yeah,
yeah,
it was
like
up.
half a
Yeah,
million,
exactly.
and, you know, and bearing in mind that costs have gone up for things in the past year or two.
and we'll continue to do so.
Yes.
So,
So-
Inflation.
Well,
But I still think we
building
need to.
stuff
You
is
choose
going
things,
back
the
down
better
a bit.
price we're gonna
But
get.
I think the idea, you know, we can sell some of this stuff. Would you like this named?
Well, that's just it. How much do we wanna start doing that?
I
How
don't
much
know.
do we
You
wanna
did it
get?
on
Well, I
on
was
this.
going to,
We
I
did it
was
on the
going
building.
Yeah,
Was
that
it
was-
reach
awful?
out to the
Yes.
malls or to
Yeah, it
the
was
much.
not
Was it
fun.
awful?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
It was
a
a
lot of fun.
hard last year,
But
very hard.
I was going to reach out to the Malzer Trust, just kind of sound them out about possibly.
Well, the Mauser Trust would definitely is a piece for this,
Um,
definitely.
Just to see
Yeah.
kind
Would
of.
they do the whole sculpture?
Or how, well, the
Like, if the
Crawford
Crawford
family
girls
was
wanted to do that.
Donating that.
That's.
But-
The sculpture.
You know,
And
how
what
much.
is the sculpture gonna be?
Well, that's just it. How far have you gone with Matt? I haven't
No,
touched base
the
with Maddie,
Crawford-
have they?
The
touched-
Crawford, they have reached out to her.
Okay, good.
Last time they were there, they were reaching out to her and just sort of getting a very, they need to know where it's gonna go.
Right.
And she needs to know where it's gonna go.
Exactly.
So they'd reached out to talk to her about doing it, but until they have a,
But she's willing. Let's start there.
as far as I know,
I'm sure she would
Yeah,
be.
I
She's a good
expect she
person.
would be,
I'd
yeah.
be shocked if she didn't.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, so they will see this, and that, I think that's a perfect place for it, where they put it in the design. And it's, you know,
And it's front and center where it should be.
right.
Yeah.
And do we have are we gonna ask Maddie for ideas? Are we
That's
gonna
what I
let
wondered.
them?
That's what I
It
wondered, how is
sounded-
that, if they're giving
It sounded
this?
like they had some
Yeah.
things, some themes that maybe they wanted to talk to her about, and then I think it would come down to, it sounded like, and as I said, they had just reached out to her, so there was not a lot of detail last time I saw them.
They reached out to her, I didn't think they reached out to her at all
No,
because
they
didn't have
had,
any
they had,
info.
they had gotten as far
Oh.
as, like, I gave them her info.
Oh.
When they called,
Yeah.
Joanna called me.
Yeah.
So I know they reached out, I don't even think they were gonna like meet with her or, you know, so I don't think they even gotten that far. But they had reached out to say, we'd like to talk to you about
Okay.
doing this. But my understanding was that they had some ideas for themes or whatever, and then they would run those by her. And then it's a matter of where's it gonna go and how big's it gonna
How
be.
big a
and-
piece do we wish?
And then we also had, was it Dudley Land Trust or the,
Dudley
Conservation.
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 said that they would be very willing to donate some money toward this too, and maybe
Well,
they.
it was going to be in honor of someone, whatever
Yes.
they did, it would be in honor
Yeah,
of
the
someone.
original figure I heard from them, which was back when this all started, was $500. So we're not talking, you know.
So that could even be that tree.
Maybe, I was just gonna say the tree.
That would
is
be a
the first
tree,
thing that I
there you
thought
go.
of.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, they're
Exactly,
not
that is
talking, they're gonna
exactly.
donate $100,000, they're talking something, you know.
Okay.
But I was gonna reach out to the Malzer Trust and just kind of see what
What the
ballpark,
possibilities
that,
are.
yeah, what the possibilities
What would
might
be
be
reasonable
ballpark
for us to
wise.
ask for.
Yeah, exactly. What do they think might be reasonable? So,
I think it would be realistic for the conservation committee to do a tree if that was
Yeah,
something.
that'd be nice.
Yeah.
And then maybe if the Dudley Garden Club wanted to take care of the little garden thingy, but I don't know, does that make a problem with?
Is there a
what we were
giant
to do?
garden club?
No, the conservation, well, there are master gardeners in the land trust group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And they said they would be interested in helping out with something like that when we walked through the site at the.
Yeah, although the senior center's having trouble getting people to help with their gardens, so,
Okay.
you know, I don't think we should build into this the
Okay.
assumption that we're going to have unlimited volunteer labor.
Right.
I think it needs to be.
They volunteered to help with ideas on plantings and
Yes.
things, yeah.
And let us know, because they know what grows and.
And I
just
think
like-
when we put this out to the public, you're gonna have to word the article very nicely. We don't wanna shut off anybody from offering, but we're not gonna put on a big appeal.
Right.
But if somebody says, hey, my father died, he'd love that library, can I do da-da-da? I'm gonna, well, sure, you know. So I think it's the way you word that article when we introduce this to the public, that, so if they reach out to you, we'll gladly, you know.
Right.
Well, depending on what it is they.
Exactly, but I mean, they, you know, yeah.
What do you think about that brick idea? Where if, you know, if you
Oh.
wanted to purchase a brick within the
That,
pathway kind
that,
of thing, or?
the management of that.
That's another
is an
organizational
enormous
file.
hassle.
That's another
Okay, then let's not
organizational
do
fund.
And then you get somebody who in 6 months goes, well, I wanna give a brick now, and you
Yeah,
have to
you're
go
like,
rearrange
yeah.
and pull it, yeah, it's
Takes me
it's
a bit,
effective
right.
for some things, but it is a big hassle.
Okay.
I like the gifts where they just say, here's money, in memory of or honor of,
You know,
and toward the project.
and like I said, you
Exactly.
That's the
put a
best.
plaque
Exactly.
on
That's
a-
why-
on
that's
a
how that's
fence
gotta be
or something.
worded.
Acknowledge there was a gift.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
You don't, it's not specified, so if
Right.
the tree dies, you don't go, oh, now what do we do?
That's
Yeah,
true.
Yeah.
You know, none of those things.
Or like we were at Ocean Beach over the weekend, and they have the little bricks in the walkway with people's names on them. And my husband looks down and goes, "We are walking on names of people, and that just feels wrong." You know.
Well, my
And they're,
favorite
like,
example
faded
of that is
away.
when my father died. His university happened to be raising money for a project for an alumni garden circle, and they were doing bricks. So I gave one in memory of my father and in honor of my mother, who was still very much alive. And I have a picture of her standing next to the brick that says, "In memory of her."
Well, that's an easy mistake to make too, right?
But I mean, like, you had to fill out the form and everything with what it should say, and I was like, yeah, no, that,
Had to be
mean-
changed.
but yeah, somebody had to go dig out that brick and
Oh, yeah,
replace it
we
in the
did
hall.
that when the naming rights in the library, I changed a few, because they came and said, oh, you gotta deal with this. I said, what? And it's not, okay, hey, we'll make a new one, no problem, we'll make a
And
new
you
one.
don't want 1,000 little name plaques.
No.
No, God, no,
No.
but we did that for the library, and it was for a purpose, and it worked.
But I really wonder about like approaching Bay Path's carpentry department to create some of those story walk panels or something that I think could be much more realistic to just pay labor to have them do, because she wants a lot of them, and that's fine, but that's,
Yeah,
Well,
quite
that's
pricey.
community.
That is
There you
community.
go.
But,
That's true.
you know, I mean, she could still help design and tell them what she wants and what it looks like, and we
They
could
spec
probably
it
do
out
it.
and
Good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
new fabrics.
The only thing I would say about that is they might not be any less expensive than.
I have no idea.
Because
It's
the
just
We just
materials
priced
to buy
something, we
wood.
just priced something through them for church, and
Mhm.
it was like printing and stuff, but to
Yeah.
put together booklets, and it
Yeah.
was, I think, more expensive than to do it through Staples.
Yeah, because they don't do bulk, they're doing, you know, they're not doing bulk materials, they're doing small.
Although, I mean, I think that's a great idea, don't
No, I don't, doesn't matter, it's just a suggestion, I don't mind at all. But, yeah, I mean, I just think that the cost, it would be nice if we could look at the cost of that, and definitely need to decide on a budget, I think, to help them choose something that's
Right,
still
yeah,
durable,
exactly.
but
Yeah.
a little more reasonable. Board members' comments and/or observations?
It's late.
when do you want a budget? I mean, when do we want to pick a number? We've got a number here, it's basically 600,000.
Yeah.
667, if we
Almost
give
7.
it, yeah, almost 7 by the time we add it all together.
So, I mean, you were expecting $500,000.
I was expecting $500,000.
Is that a reasonable budget?
Honestly, we can do it with Greater Worcester, we have the monies there. But I mean, we just gotta be good stewards of the monies.
Well, and
Right.
expect that things will increase, right? Like, this is going to happen over the next year and a
Well,
half, 2 years.
honestly,
So,
that's why we have one of the accounts with Greater Worcester, because just the opposite happened when we
Yeah.
built that place.
yeah.
Just the opposite happened,
Mhm.
and we ended up with an extra almost $1 million.
Well, the
So
next
that-
time I go to the grocery store, I hope that happens.
I
but
wouldn't be,
don't
I
think
know, I
so.
agree, I agree. I mean, there's no guarantees of anything, but,
And if that happens, that'd be awesome.
yeah.
You know, versus like if it goes the other way, we're better to
We need to
lowball
do
it
a
a
not to
little.
exceed.
Didn't you put a contingency? 20%.
Yeah, 20%
20%
which is
contingency.
fairly standard.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
could do like a
I
not
agree
to
on whoever
exceed.
said about the
I like that.
$1,180 for 2 trash bins, 2 recycling containers. I think
Yeah.
we could go get something.
That's peanuts and where would.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
and I mean, part of it is like,
$1,100
you
or
know,
something like that.
the.
You could definitely
Right,
streamline
no.
these kind of
That
things.
one's an easy one.
Oh, I don't know, some of the, like, I see all the catalogs with the outdoor furniture and the things,
Yeah.
and they are not,
Oh, no.
$1,100 for 2 of them seems right in line with what the
Mhm.
catalogs we
Wow.
get.
You
want
get for
something
the
that's gonna be
industrial
really
stuff.
heavy?
Yes,
Yeah,
you don't want it
exactly.
to walk, you don't want it to be
Yeah.
something
Blow away.
that is gonna blow away,
Yeah.
that somebody can move, that
And it's just like those Adirondack chairs, you know, those, that's probably $600-700 a piece.
Yep,
Well, but they're got to be totally different from the like $200.
They're
nice,
they're
like,
heavy duty.
The ones that I see and think, wow, that's a really nice one. You know.
No.
But
Yeah,
these are
no.
some
They're,
other-
Yeah, something
those are
really gonna
heavier
last.
too, so they're, again, they're harder to move. You're not gonna pick up and walk off with one of these
Stay there
Adirondack
all year.
chairs unless you really want to.
You and your friends really.
Yes,
want to,
you and your
right?
friends would really want to, like,
Yeah.
they're quite hefty. We have some down at the park at the end of my street, and you're not moving them.
Do they sometimes actually bolt those into
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think sometimes.
I don't think
they
ours
do.
are bolted, but yes, you can bolt them in.
We would need
The
to
ones,
do
the
that.
ones at the, well, the
Yeah.
ones at the park now, now the park at the end of my street has no fencing, and they don't move. Those things are not going anywhere.
They're
I
pretty
mean,
heavy.
teenagers climb all over them and stuff, and they're not going anywhere.
And
They're
we're gonna have a
solid.
lighting plan that if you go in there in the dark, you go,
Are we?
Oh, the neighbors
Yeah,
will love
neighbors
that.
love that, yeah,
A
exactly.
raccoon goes across. You know.
Joyce, maybe that should be an agenda item for next month, because they're not gonna be here, so maybe we should set a budget.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
think about
budget
it.
and
It's on my,
Think about it.
on this little list.
They're all a little list.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll
I'm
just.
gonna let you do the agenda next month.
Yeah, sure.
I was serious. I don't know if I'll be here, so that's okay. So any other comments, observations?
Oh, the only thing I was gonna add when we talked about the endowment funds is the Hugh and Harriet Endowment Fund is not managed by the library, it's managed by the Crawford family. And that's why we don't get a monthly report on what's in there. We receive funds, they're actually, we call them awards, annually that are from the interest, I believe it has been, yeah, earned on that money that they invested in Greater Worcester. So it's not run by us. So we withdraw money from the award money that's available to us.
Which I don't think we've, like, the amount
Not
that we
for a
have
while,
taken
yeah.
does not meet the interest that we're earning. Like,
No.
we're piling up available money in
Right,
there.
exactly.
Always good.
So we just need to be frugal about it. and
Yep.
Cost-wise. Anyone else? Observations, comments? If not, I will accept a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.